my personal opinion. Obviously,
Yeah,
the best opinion, you know.
yeah,
But
that's right.
but okay, so now we're gonna start basically officially. So I want to say, first of all, thank you, Coach. I love your demeanor in your how you conduct yourself, how you speak. You can definitely sense the many interactions you've had with many individuals across the board, multiple countries, multiple cultures. It is beyond a lot of people's perceptions to have that much reach. And I think it's an inspiring, it is beautiful, and I am so excited about it.
Well, first of all, I just want to say God has got his hand in all this, and just really, really praise him and give him all the glory and just making all the connections. I've seen myself as a coach that makes connections, as a player that makes connections, and this is just one more beautiful step along the path and the journey here on earth. But really just enjoyed our short relationship that we've started. Love having offensive linemen mindset in the room always. And I think
Yep.
that's a beautiful thing to have as a quarterback, because you're only as good as you guys up front, and you're one of the page's protectors. So that's why I look at you, Giannis, for this opportunity, and just look forward to sharing my wisdom and my knowledge. And I've really tried to help all coaches and players with their quarterbacks, and then also how to coach the quarterbacks, and then how that quarterback fits your whole offense, and your style of play, and how to get them to how for them to be the best they can be and be successful. So that's my goal with our interaction and our relationship, and then just improve you as an individual for the kingdom.
I thank you, Coach.
Yeah.
I think that you could not have put it any better. I know personally, for those who don't know, I didn't grow up with football till I was about 17. I didn't even know it existed.
Wow.
And that was like around the end of 2010, beginning of 2011. I've learned football from YouTube and had very minimal coaching. The best coach was my trial and error and my teammates. And I was very fortunate that the FCA has been part of my life. Some would have even this perception of like, how does a Jew relate to the FCA? They're Christians, you're Jewish. How does that even coincide? Like, how does this work? And all I can say is that, we all have this aura and all this devotion to God, and I know that I have been touched, heart and everything, from representative of the FCA, and I know they have taken care
Amen.
of me. They have guided me, even to this day when I seek some wisdom and some guidance. I'll reach out to individuals from the FCA and ask for either a prayer or a thought or possibly a, a passage that gives them strength or can help me with my health problems or my turbulences or just low moments. And I have, I once again, I could not be more thankful. And this is my way to make
Amen.
this more happen for other individuals out there, because like you said, the Lord works, and
Yes.
he provides. And, I think that, and this is my personal approach to this whole thing, is that God will not give you exactly what you want. He's going to give you the opportunity to get that you seek. So if you seek courage, he's going to give you the opportunity to show
Mm.
courage and prove it to
Mm.
yourself.
Yes.
If you ask for a strength, he's going to give you the opportunity. You just must listen. So I've
Yes.
asked for the opportunity to play football in the US and have guidance, and FCA came across my path. And a lot has happened between now and then. And like I said, I have much love, and this is my way to try to spread the word. And I love going to those camps FCA has. I've been to the one in Alabama and coached, And like you do, Coach, I try to do my best with the knowledge that I have, to spread some football wisdom and experience. I think this is the biggest deal, that I might not have been an SEC individual, but I think that there's some senses of being in a locker room with 110 guys all wanting to have to put food on their tables. The difference between the food on their table and the rooftop over their head is playing or not playing. You're going against people like that. And I
Right.
think that through this conversation, some of the Israelis you're going to meet, will have the opportunity to understand more of it. So that's
Right.
a little bit. But so let me so I kind of, because I'm a talker, as you see, so I had to make sure I write some stuff down so I don't forget what we were here for, because I'm all excited. So
Yeah.
so
Awesome,
first
bro.
so first of all, let us present you, Coach. So I love the fact that in the YouTube that you had an interview, you were working towards your doctorate. Now you're an actual doctor. So first of all, if you can explain a little bit about yourself and about being a doctor and a coach.
Well, it's just a long time, studying and learning, and basically, Giannis, I wanted to find out what kind of coach I was. A lot of coaches feel like they're a defensive coach, an offensive coach, a strategic coach, a seasoned coach. And I learned from my research when I first got into the doctoral program at Tribeca that I am an emotional intelligence coach. And it happened all right before COVID hit. And I came to that interesting just discovery. And so what I ended up doing in my research was emotional intelligence of coaching. And I had over 250 coaches that I interviewed and sent information to, and they filled out programs. And so basically, I wanted to discover more and more about myself and also help other coaches to where they can tackle the emotional side of playing football, coaching football, being part of a staff, just all the things that interact with a coach. And emotionally, did not know it, but COVID was on its way. And physically, we can all learn the X and O's through YouTube, experience, etc. Through the mental side of coaching and playing, you can learn that from devout coaches, devout opportunities, that type of thing. But the emotional side, you have to kind of experience it. And you've been in that locker room with over 100 players, as I have, all types of nationalities, all types of colors of their skin, all types of spiritual religion, or maybe even atheists, just all types, to be unified into getting something done as five. And I talk about my offensive linemen about the fist, if they'll bowl up like a fist, your offensive lineman, they're five offensive linemen. They got to be strong like a fist. And so a lot of times I would have acronyms for the fist, and I'd have the linemen, teams I've coached, I would meet with them and we'd come up with F, what that meant, I, what that meant, and S and T. And so I always would meet with the players and let them come along with that leadership and understanding of what they're developing. So really getting a doctoral degree has really opened my eyes to what can be done through education. And Giannis, I'm going to say it's all about what I got through playing football. And so education is important. The education awareness of playing football, of seeing all types of places, playing in places, coaching at places. And they're all just moments. And that's what I share is, is moments, because you can't take anything from this earth onto the next, to infinity. So basically it's just sharing about moments. And that's what I wanted to do. And God has just been really busy connecting us together as a relationship, as I just started quarterback coaching worldwide 2 weeks ago here in Alabama. Had numerous
Congratulations.
Thank you. Had
Mazal tov.
numerous conversations with David Hoss Johnson and just his encouragement and knowing that, man, it's like a opportunity second to none to preach to the quarterbacks and to the coaches about how to make it more effective, their play on the field. Because really, a lot of people, they get too much credit, quarterbacks, and then they don't get enough credit. And when things are going bad, you've got to be accountable as a quarterback and a quarterback coach that take accountability of the situation. Don't pass blame onto other players, other coaches, and just tell them we're going to get it fixed. We're going to get this thing better. We're going to, because one thing that's not mentioned, Yannick, yet is I have a record that will never be broken in the Southeastern. Yeah, that one, but I'm gonna go even more. I threw 29 interceptions in one season in 1983. 29. That tied with Zeke Barkowski from Georgia. So no one is coming even near that record, John. So it's safe. So, but what I've done the last few years and few seasons of my life is I have really seen that awareness of throwing those 29 interceptions and still getting back up every week, and the belief of the team and the coaches and the community in me as a quarterback and me as a person, as a leader, that I need to pass that on to others, because no matter how bad it's gotten, if you have belief in yourself and the Lord is guiding you and giving you the opportunity to throw it 29 interceptions. The following year, our goal offensively was to cut down that at least in half, and we did. We only threw 14 interceptions. And I say we because I carry them on, Giannis, in the record books or whatever, but a receiver tip ball, a receiver running the wrong route, a receiver just getting two people in the flood zone, an offensive lineman, as you mentioned, we talked about this earlier off air, sliding, not protecting, not getting it all zoned up exactly right. That all helps contribute either in delivering the ball early, delivering the ball late, not on time, left to right, all those things. So, and I never want to blame them, but everybody's part. That's the beautiful thing about football. Everybody makes a significant contribution. Everybody, the starters do, the backups do, the look squad guys are giving you that look. Maybe it's not as fast and as strong as you'll see on that Friday or that Saturday whenever you do play, but it gives you an opportunity for them to develop and see what's going on there. So just to
we've had that in my team. We had a 12% rule. If it was between fumbles, third down attempts, interceptions, touchdowns, all that stuff, we had 12% of the coach was making the calculation. So like you said, we were all accountable for the result.
Yes.
So it's not easy to be a QB, I'm sure. It's you've got all the spotlight on you. So I'm sure that's something you also bestow on your athletes as well.
Yeah, you're basically like a fish in a small little pot, and people are looking at you from all angles. And I try to tell every quarterback I've gotten around at every level. My 5-year-old I'm training a quarterback that's 5, and I've got a couple quarterbacks in professional leagues. So I've got the whole wide range of gamut that I'm coaching. And basically the number one thing for them is to understand their self-motivation and their self-development is dependent on what they want. And when they are ready, the teacher will appear. And a lot of times it's just not me as a teacher. It could be one of their classroom teachers. It could be a friend from the neighborhood. It could be someone there that either indirectly just says that you have significance, that you're making an impact. And I think that's what the quarterback position has to do for their team and their players is you've got to inspire and make an impact on those around you. Have them the belief that they're getting better and that they're good enough and that just to do their best. Because a lot of guys, just since COVID, Giannis, I've noticed a lot of kids just give up. A lot of kids give up really quick. I see adults giving up really quick. Just really, not grinding, and then now what that does, is the people that are grinders, the people that have passion, wow, they're eccentric. They really stand out now. So I really encourage anyone that has that personality, that they have a belief that God has blessed them with these opportunities. He's put it on your heart to share with others, that you're really going to stand out nowadays. And pre-COVID, there was a lot of correlations between a lot of things. But after COVID, it kind of like, it defined lanes for me. It was COVID. A lot of people, I think it was for me, it was a great opportunity to find self-discovery, self-motivation, and then encourage myself to continue to learn and grow as an individual, because you can't give what you don't have. You cannot give what you don't have. And so if you want to give compassion, you've got to be compassionate. And if you want to give knowledge, you've got to seek the knowledge and understand and meet people where they are, Giannis. That's what I love about what we're able to do here with these coaches, is I want to meet each one of them where they are. Some are 2 days into coaching, some are 2 weeks, some might be 2 months, some might be 2 years, somebody might be 2 decades. I'm in my 4th decade of coaching and playing. So I'm really, really blessed. Every season, I don't take anything for granted, and I pour into everything I've gotten with the young people and the players and the coaches and the families, because you're just not coaching like a one individual. You're coaching a whole family, and you've got to really impart them that they're a part of this whole process. Because the worst thing can happen for a young person at football practice is to get in there in a van or get in there in a Jeep and ride home with mom or dad, and they start grilling you about, why were you at this position? Why didn't he do this with you? Why doesn't he do this and that? And a lot of Americans, and they go through this. So you have to teach the player how to answer those questions, because what you practice for 2 hours, Yana, can be broken down in 2-minute conversation with, I don't want to say a non-believer, but someone that just doesn't see the value of that coach. And what I want to be able to do for all our coaches is to provide them lots of value, so they know they're the expert. Whatever it is, I want to help these coaches be the expert. You got to major in something. If it's a passing game, if it's my nephew is a defensive coordinator. He played at a high level at a Power 5 school, defensive end, made all conference. Next few seasons, I encouraged him to move to linebackers. And now this past season, he was the defensive back. So now he has a whole plethora of moments of coaching different positions, and really now he can relate to his defensive linemen because he was one. He can relate to his linebackers because he went through seasons of coaching them. And now he can relate to the defensive back. So he has an overall scope of all defensive positions. So that makes him such a much more effective coach for his players, because ultimately that's what you're trying to do, is try to improve your players.
It's also about relating. I know that personally, because with Israel in the example, because I was born and raised in Israel. I didn't know football growing up. On the contrary, there's kids in Israel who know football a decade earlier than I did, basically, since they were like, 5, 7. So I see there's so much love to the game. Israelis are known to be a little bit more aggressive too, so that's always great to get that stuff out. But yeah, there's definitely I think the Israeli culture really goes into this idea of this community or this togetherness that really is football, that, like you say, you need all pieces to work together. There's many positions that are thankless jobs. Personally, I know them like a lot more, as an offensive lineman, but the defensive lineman that holds the O-line for the linebacker to make the sack gets the thankless job. The quarterback that had to hand off the ball because he's about to get hit in the option, he doesn't get, that's a thankless
Right.
job moment. So, and the coach who designs and builds this players too, so this, I always preach and say that football is a great example of what it's like, that you need every piece to work together. It is not an individual sport.
Right.
Oops, sorry. So yeah, this is not an individual sport, and that's why, yes, you're competing against each other, but you're trying to get each other better, and it's through competition to the same position, or with against other positions. And you would think that, why would I help someone who's trying to get my job? Well, because if you help them, they're going to make you work harder. You're going to get better. So
Right.
I think this is also maybe something that's get lost these days, especially in the U.S. when everyone gets a participation trophy and stuff. But I guess that's a whole different conversation. But you have touched about what you're doing, the QB coaching worldwide, which you have opened up 2 weeks ago. It's a nonprofit, so obviously, like anyone that's listening to this and it's got the capacity to donate to the cause for you and the people that work under you, and share your experiences to really touch the hearts in a tough position as well, because it's such a complex position for memorization, understanding on the go. It almost feels like military drills that, when I was in the service, when you hear like, obviously I was a non-combat myself, but just like this, basically I see it's a commander on the field, and you have
Right.
to, and I know personally as a center, something that I found funny and maybe you have a thought about this too, that Cam Newton didn't know how to read the box and the point, and he had to have the center do it for him when he went to the Patriots or something like that. I remember there was a story, and I'm thinking to myself, like, it can't be that hard. Like, I was able to learn this, and such, but this just shows you maybe different character for different things that you might.
Mhm.
Obviously, he was in a tough spot. He was just thrown into a whole different offense. But I'm just saying that I guess playing offensive lineman, I have this appreciation to how complex we all 5 or 6, five linemen, tight end, maybe 2 tight ends, and you got a running back. You all have to communicate. And like my coach says, communication is key. And if we're all wrong, at least we should do it together, kind of deal.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I think he said if we all wrong, we were right or something like that. I don't know, but
Just
so
being
I
on
was,
y'all want to be on the same page, moving the same direction, seeing the same things together. And even if you didn't diagnose it exactly right, if everybody's pulling that rope the same direction, something good's going to pop out of there. The running back will make it right for the lineman. The quarterback will make it right with the throw to the certain receiver. So all that has to, you just have to trust that, because you don't really know till the end of the day. And once you watch the film and it's broken down, how many mistakes you really did make. You're not as good as you think you always are. And for sure, coaches and players, you're not as bad as you think you are.
I will agree on that. I will agree on that, because
A
there's
lot of
many
people,
games that you think you didn't do well, and you say, "Oh, I guess it wasn't that bad."
right? You look at it and you see the process, and you kind of want to stay neutral to the results until the season's over, and you
Yes.
look back and you go, then okay, wow, we did send another team to the playoffs, taking over here down in the Mobile Bay area for high school. Team we took over hadn't made the playoffs in 20 years. They had a losing mindset for many decades, and we were in there for 1 year, less than 1 year, and leading these young men. Lost the first 4 games and won our last 6. So they had a sense of purpose, and they really did want to learn and want to achieve, and we didn't care about the results. The end of the game, because there were other games that we lost that we played much better. And you know how that is, Giannis. Sometimes your
That's
offense
tough.
played really well, defense didn't play as well because the matchups. Football is all about matchups, and the good coaches realize where they have opportunity to win in the matchups, and so you You really, that week, that game, that series, you really try to, impose your will to that player that he has a serviceable matchup. And on the flip side of that, Giannis, in coaching, if you have a coach that recognizes, man, my offensive right side is going to be outmanned by these 2-3 studs on that defense. So now I've got to find ways to help them, because they all know at the end of the day, if they all just ran out there and played, they would know who the better players are really quick. And you do know really quick when you're out there playing who's really talented that you're trying to block or you're trying to run against or whatever. So communication during the game between the player and the coach is important. When they come off, I want to ask them, was that a 3 technique that you saw? Where did he stem before the snap? Did he move? Do you think does he just have one move and that's a bull rush? And so now once you gather all the information, then you can dissect it as like a doctor and say, okay, this is what I'm prescribing. We need to trap that guy. Who do we trap him with? Well, if you got an H-back, a tight end, maybe you trap him from the second level. You give him a sense of pride. I broke loose, and then get him trapped, and that'll slow him down. If you hit him inside of his, side of his helmet, and right there, that will show him. So that's just one example, but basically that's information that you gathered from the players when they came off the field, and hopefully you have an offensive line and a defensive line. The first thing I've always done, Giannis, for all of my teams is I pick the 5 offensive linemen to just be offensive linemen. I've taken over programs that were 0-30. I've taken over programs that were not winners at all on the field in the past seasons. And so we did the same thing at our past place here in Sims, Alabama. We dedicated 5 seniors. They were going to be the offensive linemen. And they're going to major in being a great offensive lineman, part of that fist. And so you want to do that for your team. Now, all the other positions, you can kind of go 2-way, Giannis. You can kind of, a receiver, defensive back, you can kind of share that talent pool. Your running backs and linebackers at the second level, you can kind of share that. However, if you've got one great running back, I'd really encourage the coaches to let him just go toward his strength for 100%. Let him be that running back. Maybe he's the second or third team safety. Only in dire straits do we need him, but let him run that football, be explosive. You got to make explosive plays. And if you're going both ways or you're using him a lot in the kicking game, or, I only believe, this is my belief on players. You only have so many at-bats that you're going to have as a player in your career. Before injury and post-injury. So now as a coach, your job is to let that player know you have his best interest, because you're only successful as a coach if your player is successful. So your job is to make sure you put them in a position for success, whatever it is. Maybe they're a better, say for a running back position, maybe they're a better inside runner. Maybe they got a quick first, second step, but they don't have overall speed. So in that case, you want to run that guy inside the tackles. You want quick hitters for that running back. You want to show him, and you can show him through YouTube, prior players that look like him, that run like him, and he can study the game through YouTube. I do that a lot with all of our players. Every position, the staff I'm on now, I send them players. I send them cut-ups of just a player, 1 or 2 plays that they've made. It's a great learning. Visual learners for football players, visual learners for athletes, visual learning opportunities for coaches give us a chance to see it and then know how, okay, that's how we want to impart that wisdom, that knowledge to that player. So I know it's a long way to say, but basically you coach your players on what they do well. I'm a strength-based coach. So if you can bend really well, then you're a big guy, you're probably going to play defensive line, the school I'm at or the team I'm on, because we want that guy to bend from the edge,
Yes.
And so if you can get one of those guys on your team and identify him as the pass rusher, and then you get other guys around him that understand it's our job to get him free to get back to the quarterback. Because the number one position, I believe, is the quarterback. The number two position is who protects the quarterback.
Yep.
Third position, who's going to sack the quarterback. And you see there, I haven't even mentioned a running back or receiver yet, you know? And so that's how you build your team. You identify who the quarterback is going to be, okay? And you can't have multiple quarterbacks. It's like multiple wives. I think you just got to have one, you know? And you invest in that guy, you know, or now a lot of places they're playing, the ladies are playing football all over. And that's a whole area that we need to invest in teaching and coaching the female football players as well. But what we're talking about today is that is important for you to understand. Find your quarterback and then have a vision of what you see them doing, not what system you have, but fit your system around that player. If you know, if he's a runner guy, then present him a lot of run RPOs, run pass options. If he's a passer, present him with pass run options or pass screen options. You can build your whole offense around the player. So if he's a 5 flat guy or 5'2" or 5'3" or anywhere in the fives as a quarterback, you want to have a pass screen option. You want to each play, you want to have an opportunity for him to throw the football, maybe have a screen built in, a tag built in on that. And then my passing system that I've been around for 30 years was taught to me by my high school coach. I use it now with all my players. And basically, I sent it a little bit to you earlier, and I've got a whole breakdown of everything. But it's red, yellow, green, and
yes, I like that a lot.
And so basically, every receiver knows. And I talked to my 5-year-old quarterback trainer that I've got. I said, when you're riding in the car with Dad, yes, sir. And you ride to the street light and you see red, what do you do? Oh, we must stop. Okay. So red is receivers are all running the stop or the hitch route. Here's a signal for hitch, like a hitch in a ride. So I'm going to teach y'all everything I know, system, hurry up system, a signal system. So you take bits and parts of it, guys, and make it your own. And the thing about in coaching is once you take it, you own it. You know, it's your job now to make it layered so you can teach it. And then, as you mentioned earlier, Giannis, about teaching other players on your team, that's the way I do it. Basically, all the older guys, it's your job to teach a receiver what a 3-step hitch route is. That's red. All right. And just get right into it. The signaling for red, my neck gets red in the summertime. Okay. So I just pointed my neck and I use my right hand. So all receivers on the right side of the ball are running a red route. Okay. The second thing I've shared with my 5-year-old quarterback trainee is when you saw yellow, what did you see? What did you do? Well, we had to slow down and either made a decision to go or not to go. So slow, SL, means slant in our terminology. So if this is, I'm yelling, I'm projecting from my mouth. That is the signal for all receivers on the right side because I'm using my right arm as the play caller. That's yellow. So they're all running a 3-step slant. If you have multiple receivers, Yannick, if you have 2 receivers to that side, the most inside receiver is going to run a 1-step. The outside receiver is going to run a 3-step. Okay. If you have 3 receivers to that side, 3. So that's how I signal formations, Yannick. My right side, I need 3 receivers. Boom. There it is. There's 3. They line up. We practice it during the week. The most inside receiver is always on the ball.
Yep,
if no
7 men on the ball.
If no receivers, if there's only 1 receiver, see my right hand? That's 1. I would need 1 receiver on the right. He knows he's on the ball. I can now move him in or out. Okay, now, Yannick, what I like to do with most of my teams, not all of them, but most of my teams, I want to designate who the left receiver is and who the right receiver, and they don't switch. They just stay on the left side of the ball or the right side. My 2 guys.
You go by position like X, Y, Z, or you
gonna? No, I don't. I drop as an old quarterback. Giannis, I would get hit, and I would forget, and then all of a sudden, my receiver in college, Chuck Scott, who played for the LA Rams, they now moved him from X to Z. Now they moved him from Y to Z, and X, Y, Z. You know, where's Chuck? You know, where is he lined up? So what I did, and in the game, when you got guys like Wilbur Marshall sacking you, I got sacked by Reggie White, who set the SEC, the NFL record from Tennessee. We were rivals. Bruce Smith got sacked by him. So I threw out all that when I got into coaching. So that's too hard for the coaches and for the playing and for accountability. Accountability and availability are two very important things for quarterbacking, and really two important things for life. If you're not accountable in life and you're not available for life, you can't experience it. You can't have moments. So the receiver on the left side, he's called the left receiver. That's high tech right there, I know. That's the left receiver. The one on the right is the right receiver. They never switch. If they're by themselves, they're always inside foot up on the ball, both of them. Now, my offense is called Holy Offense, Holy. So the Holy Offense. So I got an H-back, I've got my offensive lineman, and I've got my Y. So that's where it comes from, Holy Offense. That's what H and Y mean. Holy Offense, Holy. So those are the guys that have some movement to them, the H and the Y. So let's just go from the left side. So if I did my left hand like this one, where do you think the H would go? He would go to the right side, because I'd go one, and I'd probably do this early on in camp. I'll do 1 by 3. How many times have we always broke down our offenses and defensive scouting reports by going, that's a 2 by 2 formation. That's a 3 by 1 formation. That's a 1 by 3 formation. That's a 0 by 4, where you got people unbalanced, you know, and you're trying to get outside with your outside zone, that type of thing, and a hurry up offense. So I just decided, if it's universal and it's worldwide, why come up with all these? Why put another layer on there? The X, the Y, the Z, the rhino, the rhinoceros, all these different terms, and just do numbers. 1, receivers are very smart. All players are very smart. They can see just one receiver needs to be over here, okay? And my left side, my right side, just one needs to be on the right. So if I'm the H or the Y, they're the guys that move. Does help you, Yanich?
Yes, it does. I was just curious in your opinion, because this is very, very valid points. And I know in my team at Stonehill, the coaches made a mission of the players to come up with the signals, because if they came up with the signals, it's something that's something that they would remember. And it's also part of the I hope I'm saying this right, commemoration. I don't know, like
camaraderie.
Yes.
Having that camaraderie, having them being collaborating,
because it's fun and stuff to come up with names and stuff. So I definitely do. I know personally as an offensive lineman, you look to the side where the signals go, and obviously you need to know what you know. It would be good to know more, because, and I'm sure you have this too with other positions too, is that, especially as a quarterback, you need to know how the safety reads the field, or you have to know, why do they do different coverages? What would a linebacker do if he's lined up in this gap over this gap? You have to know that defenses are gap sound. How does that impact your reading, or how does that impact your decision making where to throw the ball? Once again, it's just we were talking about the shift of the safeties. How does that indicate where maybe there's an extra pressure coming in? They're trying to salvage some of the open space they might in return open. So I know personally, as an offensive lineman, I learned about what a defensive lineman would like to do. Why would he switch his stance of his legs if he's in a 3 tech? Oh, he's probably going to do a stunt on the outside. Now, can I see a linebacker that kind of gives me a hint? Is it going to be an ammo cross? Is it going to be a rage? Is it going to be just an echo? So that's why there's important to know how the other side operates. And I teach D-line. Well, here's the deal though. Offense, right? If you're expecting to be comboed, where's the hand placement going to be? How are you going to beat that? Maybe just switch your shoulders quick so they can't grab onto you. Or if they're trying to get you out of that gap, how about don't let them horizontally displace you, because you're trying to penetrate. But if you
Yeah.
even if you just stop the whole movement, right, you might not get to the ball, but you made it pretty easy for the linebacker to go in. So I do appreciate how you said let's simplify the game,
Yeah.
especially I guess especially when you speak in the environments that don't thrive on football as much. Like it's in the beginning, like especially
Right.
in Israel, you might actually learn when you do come that and that's also a question to be asked to you. Your opinion is that Israel typically teams practice only 2 or 3 times a week at most.
Right. Right.
So it is so, and there's not a true film sessions that people might watch their own film, but there's not truly a film session. Coach sits down, goes through every play.
Mhm.
You always love those Sundays when you win the game because you see yourself doing well. But on games that you lose, you're sitting there for 3 hours on film that you don't want to be sitting there anymore.
Right. Right.
So I guess your approach to it. So I love the fact you said simplify the game.
Yeah. Well, first of all, what you're getting to is point on. What I try to do for the whole offense is I want them to look up there and see how many are on the roof, Yanich. How many are up on the roof? And that will tell you a lot. Like if there's nobody on the roof, now you're getting pressure from everywhere. Okay. That means there's zero coverage. There's nobody on the roof. If there's one guy on the roof, there's only 3 defenses. There's nobody on the roof. There's one guy on the roof, or there's multiple people on the roof. And so what I try to teach all the quarterbacks and the receivers and the linemen and the running backs just to look up on the roof. Now the roof is always kind of changing. There's guys walking down off the roof. There's guys moving back up on the roof. And when the ball's snapped, they got to either be on the roof in their positions or they're out of position. And I don't really know the defensive call, but I just want to know how many are on the roof. So that's why I have every quarterback, he's going to call his cadence. He's going to look to the left. He's going to look to the right. And he's scanning back there. And the whole time he's scanning, he looks to the middle. So he has an idea of who's on the roof. And so then as we get more in depth, if how many are on the roof, is it a closed middle safety or is it open? And so if you have a 2 cover or a cover 4 where there's 2 people on the roof, that middle is open. Okay. So now when I try to teach the quarterback 2 things, middle, if 2 or more on the roof, we should be able to run the ball effectively first as a play caller. And you as a player out there on the field, 2 or more people on the roof, we've got our 5 offensive linemen in our holy offense. We got our H and a Y. We can insert them into the blocking scheme and we can run the football. Second thing, if 2 or more on the roof, I want to see if middle field is open, meaning do I want to try to get somebody down the middle of the field, the ball? And how do I place a person in that zone so they have effective and they're effective and they're able to catch the ball with the middle field open or closed? So I'm teaching the receivers to always look toward the roof pre-snap. And then when the ball is snapped, I'm running my route that's called. So if it's a red route, it's a 3-step hitch. So given that signal, so all the receivers on the right, they're still looking to see what's up there, because now if it becomes no one's on the roof, I'm in man-to-man coverage. So what is the best way for me to run a stop route or hitch route versus man-to-man? I've got to sell it from the start that I'm going to run right past you, okay? And so I've got to come out driving. I got to over-exaggerate my arms, and then I hit my 3rd step. I'm going to plant my outside foot, and as I turn around, my head and my quarterback is throwing to my face mask or to my eyes. That's his aiming point. So as he sees your body squat down, I'm throwing the football. But I've got that pre-snap off of, as a quarterback, there's nobody on the roof. So that means I better protect myself, my offensive line, my protectors. We all got to get on the same page. That means they're bringing more than we can block if nobody's on the roof. And I've got the greatest call. I've got a hitch route. I'm going to pick up 5 to 7 yards, and I'm going to demand the defensive back tackle my receiver in space. Most defensive backs signed up just to cover. But if you can you can put a quarterback with great anticipation, the 3 A's. I teach anticipation, accuracy, arm strength. And you've got to know where your strengths are. Do I have great anticipation? That's what I look for in every quarterback. Secondly, do I have great accuracy? And do I have great arm strength? If I don't, then I'm a lowercase a in my 3 A's. So I'm a lowercase a, meaning I'm quite not there yet. So when I'm writing quarterbacks on anticipation, I'll just kind of write a little lowercase. That's a small a, anticipation. And I'll write it down. I say, on this play we broke down, your anticipation was lowercase. However, your accuracy was uppercase. So I give them a big A for accuracy because the ball was placed on the outside shoulder and it was eye level. Because what happens with a lot of quarterbacks and a lot of receivers, they're not on the same page. If you have to know where he's trying to throw you the ball. Because basically I tell them all the time, miss a little, miss a lot. Yep. See a little, see a lot. See a lot, see little. So we look at little things for as we throw in the football. And so that improves our accuracy. If I have great arm strength, I can pound that ball and it kind of goes out of the screen. Have you ever seen those quarterbacks where the ball leaves the screen? That's arm strength, velocity. And so now I've got to be smart as a quarterback. It's only a 12, 14-yard throw. Do I need to put a lot of juice on it, or make a catchable pass up around his eyes?
Don't make it too cute. Make it work.
Yes. And you have to know each and every receiver. So I've thrown 1,000 balls to my college receiver, Chuck Scott. I could throw it hard and heavy to him the whole time. That's why I call a fastball is heavy, because it's heavy. It's hard to catch, and it's heavy when it hits your hands. But I had other receivers that were young, were just learning positions. I didn't throw it like that. I threw it catchable and cozy, catchable and cozy. So you put it in there. And these are just things I try to teach quarterbacks and quarterback coaches, that the quarterback can self-correct during the game. Hey, that was my bad. I knew you're first-time player receiver. You're more of a defensive back. And a lot of defensive backs are back there because they can't catch, Yeah. So that's what you got to know who you're throwing to and make every person have success. Not everybody will have the success they think they deserve or they want. And then some aren't ready, Giannis, to accept all the success because they're not ready to take the next step. Just because you made the catch, now it's time. What do you do with the ball after the catch? I call that yak yardage. Yards.
Tuck it.
Yeah. You tuck it, you rip it, and you fake inside and you go outside. Why do I practice that over and over and over? So now my receivers on both sides of me, they know where you're going to play, where you're going to run. So now they're setting up their blocks. And that's a beautiful thing. We're coaching now, Giannis. You can run plays where receivers are already blocking, and right when the ball comes out, and they know exactly what receiver is identified as the hot receiver, as the go-to receiver, like a lot of times this is what I look, and I'll give them they have named themselves whatever on the receiving core on my right side. So if I give you this signal for look, and say, I don't know, say maybe this player has big ears or something. So maybe they're called the ear, So I go look, ear, and they're running a red route. So all the other receivers know who that person is. Are they, how you see all the players where they have special handshakes, they do all that. So I try to incorporate all that the players, their relationships they have, the coaches. So we get a finer, a finer product at the end of the day. They understand the process. So we're trying to throw the hitch route to this young man. The other two receivers are running the hitch route. Okay. All right. Yeah. And then they know he's the number one target. So as they turn around, I'm looking for the ball anyway, because my read might take me to the outside, from inside outside. And so if I don't get it, then I know that guy's faking inside coming outside. So my job now as the closest receiver is to go block the guy that's on. If it's man-to-man, it's called a 2-for-1, Giannis, 2-for-1. So if I try to go block the receiver, the receiver that caught the ball, I go block his defender. I take my defender with me, which is a great thing. He's following me, and we go block 2-for-1. So I block I block his man, and my man gets blocked because he's staying on me man coverage. So I see a lot of man coverage in a lot of things we do in football. It may be zone at the start, but once they come into your zone, the defenses are always taught to cover what's in your zone. Don't cover empty space.
Yes.
I always go to clinics, Yanich, and I learn what the other people are doing. What in chess, the white chess players, they always move first. So they're always on offense. The black chess players, they're on defense. So I want to learn what the black chess players are in the game of football. I want to understand what the defensive players, what they're being taught, what they're looking to stop, how they're taught to set up in coverage, how they're disguising their coverages. And that gives us insight as offensive coach or quarterback coach to give your players answers. So I know it's a lot of information, and to digest it all, and I want to get down in there so my coaches and my players worldwide can have a better understanding of how fun it is just to complete a 6-yard play. Now the defender has to tackle you. So I'm faking inside, outside. The ball is on the outside. The inside, we're teaching a stiff arm, hitting with this arm here. Basically, you tell other guys why they're bench pressing. They're doing the close grip right here. Same thing with punching that guy. And then you always want to lead with your punches and punch upfield shoulder. Don't punch behind your shoulder, because now you open your whole self up to be tackled. Punch upfield shoulder, Yanich. And even at times, you see more and more of this now. A lot of the runners are grabbing face masks, and they're getting called maybe 10%. I teach grab cloth. Once you punch and you can get cloth on the jersey, just rip that cloth and just pull him past you. And you've broken that one-on-one tackle. Here comes your best friend, your next blocker. He's a receiver. He's coming to block that guy. He circles. If he's already made him miss, then he goes up one level toward our goalpost, toward our goal line. So now everybody's maneuvering on the same page. So he's moving up. So now I'm running, and that guy's chasing him. So now he squares. And so now that's how you make the yards after catch. And so many people don't practice all this. They just go out and run and catch a pass and run back, But you got to teach these fundamentals. I see them as fundamentals, because that's why we're lifting weights. That's why we're training in as a weight room. Everybody they know offensive linemen. He's sitting back, keep that head back, punching, thumbs up, hold your guy, do the drop, car drop, handle him there. If he gets outside your body, you're running. Once he leaves you, you got to let go,
Wash
Same
him out. Wash him out. Throw him out of the club.
Yeah. So
that's yeah. So I guess you've touched the point where I truly agree with that, the importance of a physical conditioning too, because as you know,
yes,
I know personally too, as a center, when you're starting to huffing and puffing because you had to run downfield, right, blocking downfield on the screen, or the running back just saw some green grass and you got to run down to just to pick him up, part of the mentality to always finish the play. As my coach always says, either you finish the play with your hands on someone or on the ball. So then that would relate, that what you've just been kind of showcasing, the importance of the mental capacity, mental strength with
right.
that, like you said, when you throw an interception to be able to respond, or when you
Right.
miss a block to be able to respond, or drop a catch that's in the touchdown. It was supposed to be a touchdown, and that's maybe the game. You got to be mental strong, and so there's the mental strength, and then there's also the conditioning strength, because you got to be able to be composed, composure and composed and everything. And maybe that relates to, if you can tell us the mentality of being the quarterback in the middle of the huddle, the top, what you would expect to have out of him, and how would that relate to, let's say, the physical conditioning as well as being a quarterback? Because you got to be clean, if it makes sense.
Yeah, you have to play the next play. That's what you really want to teach your quarterbacks, is play the next play. And whatever happens, if you threw the touchdown and it was dropped, if you threw the touchdown and it was caught, enjoy it. Enjoy the highs and and basically you want to stay on even keel as a quarterback. You want to have emotion, but then you want to dial in, this is the next biggest play we can make. And really encouraging all the players around you, understanding their difficulties and appreciating their difficulties. If they're having to hold out a guy that is just an all-conference player, or they're getting covered by an all-conference player, you know, our job is for them to have as many stalemates for them the whole game, and that's a winning night, you know. And so we've all got to work on the same. We all got to work to be on the same page. Meaning, if we know there's an all-conference defensive end, or they have two of them rushing the quarterback, you know, it's imperative that the quarterback gets the ball out. If he doesn't get it out, and it was great coverage, and he didn't throw it, he stepped up, and he got sacked, he needs to immediately jump up. Guys, that's on me. That's on me, Giannis. That's on me. I got to get the ball out. Even if I got to get it out and throw it in a non-catchable direction. Play callers have a better chance at 2nd and 10 than they do at 2nd and 17. So now when you're at 2nd and 17 as a play caller, you've got to have that. Your whole offense has to think as one. Your whole offense has to understand that it's okay to step up and just, you know, guide that football right over the outskirts hands of the covered receiver to not get sacked. So now it's 2nd and 10. Now I can maybe run a draw. I can run outside zone, pick up 4, 5, maybe 6 yards. Then I was 3rd and medium. But if it's 2nd and 17, then it's really hard. Now it's going to be, you know, do I run a screen, play caller, try to pick up 8, 9, 10 yards? Or do I throw the football to give receivers a chance to pick up that distance, knowing I just got sacked? So we're facing really good defensive linemen. So now the dilemma as a play caller, as a quarterback, as an offensive group together, we can't run a 5-step drop, or we can't hold the ball to let receivers proceed down the field 5, 10, 15 yards. So it's important that they're all on the same page. The quarterback understands what they're facing. You know, now if Giannis, you slid the offensive line all the way to the left, and it, you know, all the pressure came from the right. Now Giannis, you know, quarterback will stand up, you know, and then he'll go, no, that's not right. I slid the wrong way. We had 2 people free on that side. That's on us. Guys, we're all together. It's all right. It's all right. Huddle up. Let's go. Next play. And then basically, you know, we're looking to the sideline, or the ball's coming in, the play's coming in, whatever. So that's how you have to separate. Boom, 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 boom. Because you don't know the very next play, you know, could be the play that we spring and get the momentum, you know, as an offensive play caller. So those are all the things that go in. Now, what you want to do in your system is you want to have it where the quarterback, the linemen, the receivers, the running backs, they need to be able to be more reactive and proactive than be analysis by paralysis. So many offenses and defenses and play callers are analysis by paralysis. That's why in my offense, we do left receiver, we do right receiver. Now, the research going into that, Giannis, is if you run and you look inside, everybody has a what? A dominant eye and a not so dominant eye, correct?
That
so
is correct.
Where you want to place your guy, and I learned a lot of this from
Set
Joe
them for
Moore.
Success.
Set them up for success. So if I have a dominant eye, so I want to put them on my upfield eye. So I want, if my right is my dominant eye, I want to put them on the right side as right receiver, left receiver. Now I try to play my bigger guys at those positions, taller, length at the L or the R receiver. I'll take a shorter guy depending on whatever we have, what talent we have. Giannis, I've had H and Y for the holy offense. I've had H and Ys that have been little bitty guys with quick explosiveness. Maybe they're not very fast, but they're quick and they're little. They're, you know, elusive. So you set up your offense, you know, how to get them the ball. I've had bigger guys that were really 6, 7, 8 linemen that were H and the Y. And they were guys that could come and block hard. And then you can play action pass or run action pass where you actually run the blocking scheme and you slip them out instead of them going up, leading like on a counter. They go up and they get in the flats. You know, it's an amazing thing. If you'll do the same blocking scheme and say, you know, you run your G, you know, with a guard pulling, trapping over here, and your H leading through, run everything there, and then then call H, and I do hot like this, hot, meaning H, we're gonna do everything. I'm gonna ride the counter fake because I've called H hot. Now I'm looking at the spot as a quarterback. This is one of my run hot options. Okay. So I'm looking in there, and if I feel like my running back can get 5 yards, okay, drive for 5, then I'm going to give it off there, even though that backside guy is going to go on out in the flats. So you basically got a hat on a hat. And basically I tell the running backs this: look, we'll get you to the second level. You got to make that guy miss.
Yep.
The
you
third
always
level,
got that one guy miss. Yep.
yeah, you gotta have, and sometimes the second level is just a linebacker. Maybe we block the play side and the backside scraping. So it's now you and him one-on-one. And do I get upset when he gets tackled one-on-one? Absolutely not. I praise the defensive linebackers. Now let me ask you this, Giannis. Can that guy do it 3, 4, 5 more times that game? We just need one time for our running back to pop that and go. Now my quarterback, I'm a product of calling more similar plays over and over and over, so we can get used to what we're seeing as an offense, what we're seeing as a quarterback. So now we've called hot for that H. So he's wrapped in there and he's running hot. Now my outside receivers know what? They know hot, meaning he's going to catch the ball on the line of scrimmage or right over the line of scrimmage. So I can go ahead and start my blocking right now. So if I got man-to-man coverage, I'm running them off. And once they break down, I break down. I mirror their technique. If they want to run with me all the way to where I'm running green, which is a go route, because I've caught 3 long passes that game, just keep running him off. But once he recognizes that I'm not getting the ball, your job is to mirror him. Just stay between him and our H-back. And so that's just one play design, but you work on that play design. And I love counters. I love quick hitting plays. And I love slow developing plays. And I think you got to have both. If you're overmatched, offensive line versus defensive line, you need quick hitter plays, right, Giannis? You need plays.
I do agree on that, yeah.
So you're going to run plays that are trapped, like boom, we're going to hand the ball off, boom. Quarterback is going to set up and run a quick draw. You can run a long trap, trap, quick trap, get rid, boom, hit the ball quickly. You can run piercing plays where we will run a wedge block, at the right guard or the right tackle. I call out one of those places and we all wedge to that spot. Okay, because let's face it, defensive linemen are better athletes. They're stronger, they're faster, they're longer, everything to an offensive lineman. Okay.
They're not as pretty though, Coach.
Yeah, I didn't get to mention that pretty part. You're right. All offensive linemen are prettier. So knowing that, and we all got to agree to that and be on the same page, let's make it so it makes it a difficult Friday night, Saturday afternoon, or lo and behold, a Sunday afternoon if you're playing in the league. Let's make it tough on the defense. So I like going right toward their best defensive lineman with a wedge blocking. What does wedge blocking look like? Well, it looks like if we have a 7 technique out there, that tackle is going to hit him there. The Y on the holy offense is going to scoop in there. The right tackle, right guard, center, everybody's moving to wedge block right there. Now, where should the running back go? He should go to triple. He's going to hug the triple team. So there's going to be 3 big butts right there where he should be hugging and moving the pile right in there. Okay. So now we've gone after their great pass rusher. We've hit him in the mouth. Pass rushers, he wants to pass rush. Yes. We're going to get him an opportunity to pass rush, but 3, 4, 5 plays in the game, we're going to go right after you and hit you right in the mouth. And we're going to go right in there and face you up, and we're going to push and push and push and make somebody else. I want to triple team their best player.
Well, we had this idea.
5.
I
Yes.
agree about breaking the spirit because we've had
Yeah.
we were when Stoneham played Southern Connecticut. They had this player number 70. Everyone kept talking about him. It was a big deal, big huge motor, which goes to the physicality and conditioning and such. And he was the guy. And we basically broke his spirit. And once you break that spirit, the game was lost on their side.
Yeah.
You know, we also came with so much anticipation for his level that we were so much better than what he was actually, which relates to, I think, the point where you and I spoke about at first, that, you know, this does relate to when you started playing in the college, when you said that most of your team was in the SEC was a freshman, and everything, that you have this such an expectation of the other side, thinking they're going to be you know, monsters or overwhelming, or they're going to hit, you know, all that stuff, and then you show up to the game and you realize, oh, practice was harder. So
Yeah.
I agree. But so let's what's it called? I'm actually very intrigued about your philosophy about all this the coaching aspect, and making this more comprehensible, or I should say more um, into it. I think that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
That
You want your coaches to really be intuitive and be
yes,
linked
intuitive.
in with their players. And so when they come off the sideline, you ask them certain questions and you gather information to help them do. And then a lot of times once you go through these processes, Giannis, is then they make the adjustments out there. They understand now, okay, we've got to do this as a unit and do that as a unit. You want them to start you want them to be learners. And basically, I never talked about losing. You're learning. You're winning and you're learning. You're winning and you're learning. And then when you get off that field, you know, there are a lot of plays there. I was learning, you know.
Yep.
And
What's
one
your
play to lose the game, you know, because I gave up a sack or I threw an interception or I dropped the touchdown pass. I'm learning from that situation. Why did I drop the pass? Well, I took my eyes off of it immediately so I could look and see where the defender was. And I got to secure the catch first. You know, I got to secure the catch all the way in to where I grip the ball, and then boom. And I've got to do that over and over leading into the game. And then plus when I sit on the sidelines there, I gather my thoughts. I've got to redo that then. And you got to teach them these techniques. If not, they're pouting and, oh, I suck. I'm terrible. You know, and your body, your mind is listening to that self-talk. You've put the work in. You've showed up on the days early in the morning to catch tennis balls, to catch smaller balls out of the cube, you know, catching. You've put in the work. Now just transfer that work, trust in the process. Coach is going to lead me to where I'm getting open. The quarterback is going to put the next pass even more catchable. I'm going to secure the catch. My offensive linemen, they're going to do their job protecting so I can get down the field in 10 yards or 15 yards, whatever the route is, 5, 10, 15. And so all that's got to be on the same page. You have to play the next play. You got to put that behind you and have great anticipation that you're going to make the next play and not be afraid of, man, I don't know if I can catch it. I don't know. And that's where doubt. And I think that's a lot of the principles of just life itself is having trust and belief that in yourself and then in others, and then belief in the system, belief in the game, giving praise to all the people around you that made it, that helped be successful. Like what I'm talking about, Giannis, is basically everything people have poured into me. I now want to pour into others that are willing and able, that want to know this information. And
amen
that's
to
where
that? I share the same sense.
that's where I really like what we're going. And I want to meet each coach and each player where they're at on their journey. Because not everybody, you take math for courses. Like I take my 5-year-old out there and I'm training him. He can't spell algebra. He can't spell geometry. But I have quarterbacks, they can spell regular math, general math, math 1, algebra 2, geometry 1, trigonometry. Same thing in the quarterbacking room. I've got quarterbacks that are already to trigonometry. You know, I've got some that are potential electrical engineer. You know, they're advanced. Now, how do I structure my practice to where he gets the most out of that helps him prepare for his game Friday night, Saturday, or Sunday? And that's where I converse a lot with my quarterbacks that are playing for other teams all over worldwide, is for them to understand all these opportunities they have as growing. So
that actually does relate to the point that I was interested to learn, is that So we were talking about like what's intuitive. We were talking about relating to the players. You were talking about the level of the players. So how has been your experience, as you just mentioned, about the coaching world worldwide with the various athletes from various cultures, different languages, possibly? I know that I know that my understanding in football was a lot different because I didn't. So I guess some of the fundamentals that you get spoken to in the U.S. doesn't being taught elsewhere, isn't being taught elsewhere. Something that you and I think share that we would like to change.
Right.
And I was interested to hear, first of all, maybe you have a couple examples, obviously one, maybe two, just so, because there's there's couple more things I would love to ask. But what's your impression, right? So let me combine maybe two questions. I'll make it
Sure.
simple because, I've said a million words. So one is, how do you relate or make it more intuitive for an athlete that isn't from your environment,
Hmm.
to comprehend your game style, the conversations, what's in instinct, what's not, and
Right.
also the second part to it is, now that you're, God willing, are going to be meeting Israeli athletes, and you're going to
Right.
be showing up to Israel too with the FCA clinic in the
Right.
summer. What
Right.
is it, the stuff that you expect, you think you're going to see? And how do you feel? What's the way you are thinking of relating and teaching some of your core fundamentals too?
Great
So,
question. Great question. I love this opportunity. And first of all, is you have to meet your athletes and meet your coaches where they're at. What does that mean? That means I have to do my research, meaning I have to have dialogue with the player. I coached at a school in Alabama. It was on the Alabama-Georgia line. It's a private school. We had boarding students from 19 different countries. The previous coach was not allowing those players to play American football. However, when I got there, I took over. I said, I welcome everyone to play. It's a great sport. It's a great opportunity to be in the culture of our school and the community. So now what I did with those players that came out, he was from South Korea. He was from Venezuela. What are your backgrounds? And they were like, what do you mean when I'm back? Well, what other sports do you play? You play soccer. Okay. You play basketball. Okay. Let's take soccer. In soccer, do they mark a man on defense, or what does the defender do? He marks the man on defense. So now I would get with the defensive coaches and the person, and I would ask the kid, I say, son, when you mark a man, what do? You keep between him and the keeper. Your job, the keeper, is the back end of the soccer defenders, and he is manipulating and moving left, 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 drop, drop, drop. So now you've got to teach that young person, I want you to be a linebacker. So you're basically the second line of defense in the football game. But in soccer, your job was to do what? Was to back up and then close out the ball. The same thing is going to happen in American football. It's a beautiful thing. You're going to drop, unless we send you on a blitz. What's a blitz? Where you go on the snap and you penetrate and you bring the X, the Y, and the Z from A to B. You come straight line for the blitzing. If not, you drop back and shuffle, and now you read. You play an athlete, you read. Now, what you teach an inside linebacker? Okay, I want to play inside linebacker. I send them cut-ups of a lot of the inside linebackers I've seen over the years, like Ray Lewis is one of my favorite, and he's like an unbelievable athlete. But basically, you never want your outside shoulder to get blocked as an inside linebacker. What do you mean, coach? Well, like in soccer, you don't want anyone to outrun you to your outside, overflank you, right? So what that's done is me as a coach, I've had to learn other sports to bring them to relativity for that player. Take basketball, spacing. Wow, you love basketball. Well, you'll love being a receiver because we play football like it's basketball on grass. Tell me more, coach. Okay. Well, I want you to run to spots where they're not and get yourself open so you can get the ball, drop step, just like in basketball, drop step, turn and dunk the ball or lay it up or shoot it, whatever. Same thing's going to happen on the football field. You're going to run a red route. Now you were in the bus this morning, or the Jeep, or the car, or you rode your moped. You came up and you saw the red light. You did what? I stopped, coach. That's exactly what I'm doing. So if I'm going to give your all the receivers on the right, you're one of those three. Okay. The first teaching is 1, 2, 3, stop, turn around, the ball's coming. And now I'm going to drop step and turn the other way. So now you related it from basketball to football. And so I had so many kids, people were marveled. They were like, wow. So I found out where they were. Now, the kid's a linebacker. Coach, I want to become a running back. Okay. You've been studying the running back. If he lines up outside of his normal place right next to the quarterback, he's probably going to do what? 2 things. He's either going to go outside or he's countering back. So now you play the percentage, son, you develop as a running back. You may not want to cheat your lineman as much because you were on the other side. You've already learned this in history. You've learned it, that if he lines up wide, he's probably going wider. If he lines up wide, but not as wide, he's probably countering back. So now trying to play the running back position as a linebacker and a linebacker as a running back. So I really try to teach all our positions what the other guy is being taught and why he's adjusting his alignment. There's a reason he's, as a running back, split out a little bit wider. He's trying to catch the flare pass, the flare screen. Your job, do you have to defense him out there? No. You've got outside linebacker, you've got a corner, a safety. That's their yard. They got to defend their yard. This is your yard right here as a linebacker. They want you to think to widen out, and now the quarterback is going to run a delayed draw, a delayed trap up the middle. So basically teaching people, you got to teach them more like chess and not checkers. Yep. You know, if he moves here, and so now you're moving your people. Now, if you're going to widen out and you're going to play man-to-man coverage, our linebacker's got that running back, then I move over and guard him. But now my safety, somebody's got to have eyes on the quarterback. If not, if you move everybody out of the box, you know, we're going to run a 5-0 draw, you know, where all 5 linemen are taking 4 most dangerous, and the 5th one's leading up on somebody else, and we're going to show pass, and we're taking off. You know, that in my system, I call that Hawaii 5-0. There was a show years ago.
Yep, I know that one.
So we and guess who makes
Where's
that call?
my sunglasses?
Yeah, guess who makes that call? The center. He sees, you know, running back shift over a little bit to the left, linebacker move out. He just says, Hawaii, ready, set, and they snap. So I teach it for the lineman. So now the quarterback, he's getting the ball. It's changed because now he's outside. We don't have to worry about him. So now the running back just runs his flare. Quarterback can even fake a little flare, move him more, fake, take off, and here we go, run a quarterback draw. Simple thing. So, you know, now it's really, there's a lot of complexities to it, but basically it's getting everybody on the same page, keeping it simple, and going and running the ball where they're not, or where we have better opportunity for success. And passing is the same thing. So hopefully that helps some coaches and you know, developing their play calling and developing their players. Find out where the player, meet them where they are, and to start developing them right there. Because you may see something in that kid. The greatest thing about football coaches and just coaches in general is they see things in young men like Giannis. Someone saw something in you. Now you had to bring out your self-motivation, your self-learning skills, but it made you more of an in-depth, as we've already talked about. You spent a lot of your waking hours up there in the coaching office, learning, you were a sponge. Okay. Players like that, us coaches love. And then our joy is then trying to really teach you as much as you can for you to be successful, but also the next Giannis to be successful and the next one to be more successful. That's the growth of the game that I really want to bring to worldwide, everywhere. I want to bring each and every coach an opportunity for them to grow and for them to become experts and to know that they've been empowered by. Now, you don't have to be an expert in 5 different offensive schemes. Just learn what you want to learn, know what you want to know, and then go down in there and learn more and more and more. Don't just Google it. Go down, learn, find out, go find the people. In this off season, for example, later this week, Giannis, I'm going to Auburn University. It's called On the Plains. I'm going there and spending a whole day with their quarterback coaches and their new leaders. They've got a new coach, Hugh Freeze. I sent you a picture of my nephew and myself. And then on Thursday, I'm going to the University of Alabama, Birmingham. I'm going there to learn more about their new quarterback coaching strategies, and techniques, and things that I can take away that can help me become a better coach. Maybe I use it, this spring ball. Maybe I use it in the summer. Maybe I introduce some of it to the Israeli quarterbacks. Wherever I pick up information, I want to share that information. And so, but you got to always be willing to keep learning and just really. I see my mission as I want to get it to where it's condensed to where any coach can go teach something successfully and have answers for it, and players will know, how they can better do their play and ability and have success. So I was really long-winded.
Yeah, well, at least I'll tell you this, it looks you're making much of a change, and I know you're going to make a lot of a change for the Israelis and everyone who's involved with you and with the FCA and with this channel and stuff. I will say this, my appreciation does grow larger to you, that when you came into that school and you were dialed into the international students, athletes to join in and contribute their abilities, because it's always interesting to see games internationally, especially young adults, where you see every country has a different physique, different genetics, almost, right, that once you put it one against another, it makes things so much more sense as to I guess the development of the sport. That from in the professional level, on all levels, you have different athletes, showcasing different abilities, which is amazing. But I will say this, I do remember when I was reaching out to schools, nobody knew about football in Israel. They all thought that it was a figment of imagination, because when I was reaching out to schools, they were like, there can't be football in Israel. And then they were looking at, there's no 6'3" guy in Israel who's $295 or just over 300 running the way that does. It doesn't make sense. There's an international game. Who's playing 9 versus 9? I actually played 9 versus 9. Only when I got to the US, I played 11 versus 11. Now it's different. But I do know that I remember showing up to Shepherd University in West Virginia. And they looked at me saying, "Who you are?" And I said, "Well, I have an appointment with you guys." And they say, "Well, we don't know, we don't have anything." I've learned that when they saw that I'm an Israeli, they threw it off the table, not thinking, okay, it's probably nothing. And then I was basically saying, "Okay, can I show you my film?" Because I didn't have Huddle. I used YouTube. I actually had to do my own editing. As you know, I'm kind of on that side a little bit. And they were supposed to have a coaching meeting, and they stopped it because they saw my film. Next thing they know, then it becomes a whole game of like, "Oh yeah, can you come the next day so they can kind of game plan?" They didn't explain, but obviously I was on my way to Tennessee. Actually, I ended up going to Kentucky to one of the schools over there. But I will. So just like so the reason why I brought this up was because I guess I'm actually intrigued to hear your side of the story as to the transition of international players playing in the U.S. Because like I said, there's a sense of, in the U.S., they always think that they know the game better and they can do the game better. And I always thought that I told myself, why would I be able to play college football if people knew the game long before me? So that's why I had to come in with the extra attitude to show up and do everything that I'm told and do more. Obviously, the service helped me to do that too, and just the nature of who I am. But well, basically the question would be is, how do you see this transition of the U.S. acknowledging more and more international athletes coming to the U.S.? You even have people getting drafted. We have the tackle that plays in the Eagles that was even a rugby player who wasn't even like he has not touched a football until he
Right.
got to the U.S. and being drafted shortly after. And then you have you know, you have the tight end that was being drafted from the German, I think it was from the German league, right into the draft, you know, without, once again, like not even showcasing himself in the U.S. There's like, there's all this amazing
Yep.
development of international in the U.S. So if you can share about that and how that goes with your coaching worldwide, and what do
Yep.
you see it kind of going towards in, I guess, the football of today?
Well, it's a great question, Giannis. I think the biggest thing for quarterback coaching worldwide, its platform is to help with the knowledge and help with the instincts of the player and also of the coach and of the families that surrounding the coach and the player. Because if you got support across the board of what you're doing, where you're spending your time, where you're developing your strengths as a coach, where you're developing your strengths as a player, and you have that unification and collaboration with your family and with your community, then it gives you a chance to really holistically, body, mind, and soul, holistically learn the position, learn the sport, and develop accordingly. It's always beautiful to have a young person that's big, strong, smart, and eager to learn, wherever he's from or she's from. As I mentioned, females playing football now. You have that package in a student, then you have to be ready just when the teacher appears. And so that is the biggest thing that I see internationally and worldwide, is identifying those young people that want to learn and develop themselves in a new sport, being football. And the same thing with our coaches, learning how to bring out the best in each person so they can be successful. That's the key to coaching.
I appreciate your answer. It really is. And I'll tell you this, I know that I was called the Jew Hammer on the field, and I got many nicknames
Yeah.
playing on the field. Actually, part of my name of this platform, KoachYA, was because I had teammates call me Yao, Ya, and everything.
Nice.
But no, I've definitely learned a lot, and I will admit that at many times I felt like I was almost a secondary citizen to football because I wasn't from the U.S. But the difference was that I guess I didn't have as much time to have a bad technique, so I was very sponge
Right.
in that
Right.
way, or even understanding football. But I will admit that I did, you know, my coach. I remember I only knew football, like the playbook of Stonehill, by the position. So I knew what the right tackle was doing, I knew what the left tackle was doing, but I knew exactly the same play.
Right.
Only later I started learning, okay, I can't focus on the position, whatever they do. I want to be able to move around. So I had to learn how the game happens, or how the play, why is the play going the way it is? Why is the combos going to those people? What are we trying to achieve? Who are we trying to leave open to have for the
Yes.
running back? Who do we not care about that he's so far off the play? All these different things that, you know, I guess when I came in, I just wanted to know exactly what I was supposed to do so I can do it best. And only later, my coach actually threw me at center. So going from someone who's having a hard time going from a right tackle to the right guard, suddenly right into center,
Yeah.
I was like, I was terrified because like I was like, I know I can snap. You know, obviously, there was still screw ups, but I knew I can snap. But now I have to make calls for others fast when I don't even know the playbook. Like I don't even know how the game actually goes. I didn't even know what a 3 tech. Like I didn't know the 0, 1, 2
Right.
I. Like what's a 10, what's a 40. I didn't. What's an over? What's an under? What's a
Right.
bear? You know,
That's the
double
minutia.
eagle.
Learning the minutia of football. That's right. That's
I
right.
was like, and I literally was just thrown in. Like my coach said, you're going to be a center. And I was going up against one of the best defenses in our conference, our own defense. So like, I'm the first one to get, as I'm snapping the ball, getting the helmet right in the head. Like I'm trying to get like, I got a nose right in front of me. I don't even know how to make steps as I snap, so
Right.
I've had a huge learning curve and a painful one, but as I'd mentioned, because of that, because the coach trusted and he made
Yeah.
me trust the process, which is a big deal
Yeah.
too. I know personally that, you trust the athlete because you've seen it, but the athlete hasn't gone through it yet.
Yeah.
You have to, you don't want to tell them what to do because then all they do is just do what you say. You try to exemplify what you have done or what you do to incite them, to give them the insights to how they do. And I preach this to anything in life about,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
everyone's got their own, their own journeys. And I have a mantra saying just another chapter in the book when things are good or the things are bad. And, alongside with God is great for the better and worse, and all that stuff, you know, and I know that the struggle that I had was needed because when the day came that I had to jump into left tackle, and that was funny. I remember I came to practice. The coaches haven't told me that I'm going from a right tackle to the left tackle, and I'm starting that game against the best D line in our
Right.
conference that year. I was so in shock. I stood as a right tackle on the left side.
Then switch
So
your line. Yeah. Oh
my
my.
legs were flipped, and I was in and everyone's like, okay, relax, relax. You're okay. You're okay. I was like, it's like, but then next thing you know, I have a game within one season. I played, I basically in one game alone, I played all the interior positions. I played a center and I played a left guard and a right guard all in the same game. So, and I knew then how important it was for me to learn football, not just execute football, learn why we do. Now, I'm not going to pretend like I know what happens beyond the box. Like I know if, I have played Madden a little bit to know, okay, if I may, if I get the in cover one, if I get the safety to go a little bit to the right with my corner, I can maybe get a slant in or post in on the other side. I have some knowledge, but which, by the way, in Israel, we've got many people who are brainiacs about, football. So
Yeah.
I'll give them all
Yeah.
the credit, but I'm good with O-line and the
Yeah.
box and defense and all that stuff. But what I'm saying is that I do appreciate how much your platform is vital for quarterbacks and other athletes that are involved, including coaches, because at the end of the day, you teach the coach to teach the player. Because if you
Exactly.
learn football, and that's what I'm trying to do through this.
Yes.
Even if I'm an offensive lineman, let me show up to the D-line clinic so
Right.
I can learn the linebackers are reading the guard. So that
Right.
means if I'm the coach, I'm gonna just make almost like a show, of the guard pulling and then kind of slowing down at the edge of the end of the line by the tackle to have extra support. And I've driven everyone out from everyone thinking it's a run, it's a pass. So
Right.
that's why I value what you do, and that's why I do appreciate how you address information to people that might not have grown in it, and you use stuff to relate to.
Right.
So that's very I like I said, I very do appreciate that. I will say this, I definitely want to. You have touched about family, the importance of family. I know personally, my dad was a doctor. He did not like, when he was alive, he did not like the fact that I was playing football. He always sent me concussions,
Right.
articles to read, and all that stuff. And I know that when he realized how much I'm passionate about it, because once
Right.
again, it's foreign, and it didn't help that the first game I played against a guy named Big Mike. He
Big
was six
Mike.
foot he was 6'9", and at the time 500 pounds. I looked like a munchkin. I I remember going as hard as I can and hitting a wall. That was my
Yeah.
first experience with playing with the adults in Israel,
Right.
and he fell on me in goal line. I was trying to hit his hip so he doesn't fall on me, but I could stop him, blocking because I was playing defense, and I ended up doing a full split. So,
Whoa.
and that was my first experience, my dad being in the stand. So you can only imagine, like, I'm trying to show my dad this game I love that I want him to be involved, and this happened. So after that, he supported me and everything. So obviously, I ended up playing, and doing a lot with the sport.
You want him,
But
want him my, as a son, you want him over. That's awesome.
Yeah, but that's why I love the story of your father with you when you had, when you had when you had signed. I can't remember exactly what school it was that you signed, and then you only had like a partial scholarship to
Right.
later get a full scholarship in Vanderbilt. And then basically both the coach and your father advised you to go with the opportunity. If you can touch about that maybe a little bit, the importance of your family being able to, because that's what I preach too. I think the families should learn football too, so they can relate more to their kids. And that's what I'm trying to do as well, to give this platform. So
Yeah.
maybe if you can touch a little bit about that experience, because personally, and I'm gonna let you talk, is that I verbally committed to Pace, but something didn't feel right. And I knew that Stonehill was
Hmm.
where I should go. I felt better
Yeah.
connection with the coach. I felt I'm going to be taken care of. And for
Yes.
someone who's coming to the US, something very foreigner was very important. So I would love to hear about your experience of basically having the opportunity to have, multiple interests, which is something that I felt like, oh my God, because I didn't think I'm gonna get anything. Because I was like, why would anyone give me? And I would love to hear about that experience for you, and also the dynamic behind the scenes of with your dad. It sounded very interesting.
Yeah, Giannis, a lot of nuggets here. First thing is, when I was a player, as a football player, I also played multiple sports, playing basketball, playing baseball, got recruited for colleges in those sports as well. I was really in a fertile area of athletes. I was in Nashville, Tennessee. So there were a lot of players that we played against. In, for example, in baseball, we would travel to Cincinnati and play with former, future Major League Baseball players and travel south to Atlanta. So the proximity of seeing top level players in a sport of baseball, we saw it. I was exposed to it. And so had an opportunity to play college baseball. Basketball, same thing. On the East Coast of the United States, when I was a youngster in the 1980s, in the late 70s, a lot of great basketball players were in the East Coast. So I would go to Maryland, DC. We played teams over there from Nashville, Tennessee. So got recruited there. Football came along. My dad was an Alabama Bear Bryant disciple. He loved Alabama. He wanted me to be the next Alabama quarterback, and I wanted to be the next Alabama quarterback. Their defense coordinator, Ken Donahue, recruited me for like 3 years, my 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. And I went down for multiple visits, and I signed a partial scholarship with the University of Alabama. Not a full ride, just a partial scholarship. So it meant that I would go on campus. I would prove my worth. I was going to be on the team. I was going to be part of the team. And Yonich, if they invest just a little bit in you, there's a little more, you'll get an extra rep or two. If they invest nothing in you, it's hard to get any reps. If they invest everything into you, you're getting all the reps. And I knew that as going in, because my dad, I had 5 older brothers. All 5 had competed at the collegiate level in their chosen sport. I had 1 baseball player as a brother. I had the other 4 were all college football players for different institutions and universities. So my dad had seen this happen 5 times earlier. So he was just about go where you feel, as you mentioned, when you're in college, where you felt like the most, us as players, the first thing you will know as a player, they don't care what you know as a coach, as long as they know you care as a coach. And then once they have that relationship bond built with you as a player and a coach, that you care more about them as a person, that you care more about them as a player and about what they can do, then that's the strongest point there. I had that feeling with a guy named Watson Brown. He was the head coach at Austin Peay. I had 3 brothers that played for Austin Peay. It's a Division I AA school in Clarksville, about an hour north of Nashville, my hometown. My dad will not sign the papers for me to go there. He says, "No, you're not going to Austin Peay." I see bigger things for you at a bigger setting.
I think he was right.
Yeah, he was, that's where that wisdom comes. So I couldn't sign for them in football. I signed with Alabama as a partial scholarship. Fast forward, go through the recruiting, February, March, April, the end of May 31st, my dad gets a phone call from Watson Brown, who was the prior head coach at Austin Peay, became the new offensive coordinator at Vanderbilt University that day. He called my dad that night. I'm playing high school baseball. We're in the state semifinals. We're playing in Memphis. I come back. We had just lost the semifinal game. So we were finished with high school. He said, son, Vanderbilt called today. And I said, why did they call? He said, Watson Brown is now taking the job. They're going to offer you the 30th, which back in my day, there were only 30 scholarships given out, full rides every year. So I got the 30th offer. And so I had to call the very next morning. I said, let's go. Let's do it, Dad. And Dad was like, yes. So it's in our hometown. So I had to call Bear Bryant. He had to let me out of the partial scholarship. Of course, a full scholarship would override a partial. Back years ago, that's kind of how they did the recruiting. Now they have national letter of intent. They have a lot of different things. Back then, you could sign multiple schools in multiple sports. So in football, so I had to call Bear Bryant, or got to call Bear Bryant, and he picked the phone up. And I said, Coach Bryant, this is Kurt Page from Nashville. I know you are, boy. What's going on? And I had a summer job already with them that summer for a construction company in Nashville. And so I already had talked to him numerous times about working and making extra money, and he was providing those opportunities for me. So I said, Coach, I've got a dilemma, and I think I just wanted to get a release from you because Vanderbilt University has offered me a full ride to play and be one of their opportunity to be one of their quarterbacks, and I think I want to sign with them, and I just wanted you to release me from my partial scholarship with University of Alabama, and thank you for believing in me and trusting me and giving me that opportunity. But I think I'm going to pursue this one. He was real quiet, didn't say anything. I felt like hours of silence. But he was a terrific storyteller, and he went, Paige. I went, yes, sir. If you were my son, I would tell you to do the same thing. I said, but did you know last year, were you at the game? I said, yes, sir. Alabama beat Vanderbilt 66-3. He said, yes, you saw that. So we're not going to take no mercies on you. I said, yes, sir. I said, we're going to beat Alabama. He said, Paige, that's not going to happen. That's never going to happen. And, Lord willing, in '84, we beat Alabama. Now, he wasn't the head coach. He retired the season prior. But that's the last time Alabama has lost to my university, Vanderbilt University, in 1984. Now it's 2023. So we're proud about that game. We're hoping Vanderbilt will beat them soon, because every year I get calls about that game, and that was a great moment in time. And everybody was on the same page that day. Our receivers, our defense, our offense, the coaches. It was great to be a part of that. But that's the big thing in coaching is learning where you have the best fit as a player, and then where the best fit is for your players and what they can be to be successful. And asking them, communicating with them, where do you see yourself playing? Giannis, I ask all my young players, when you watch a football game, what do you watch? Oh, I watch the defensive backs. Okay, well, you probably got a defensive back here. I watch the quarterback. Well, do you watch the quarterback interior line after the ball is snapped? If they've got the all 22, find out what your players watch. And then now you're meeting them where they're at in their evolution of the game of football. I just watch this position, Coach Page. I watch this. Okay. Well, I'm thinking I'm programming you maybe to become a linebacker. I need you to start watching linebackers, and then identify some linebackers you'd like for them to watch. Watch the second level of play. And I do this all the time, Giannis. When I'm watching games, I'll just pretend I'm a player for my team that wants to be a safety. So I'll watch just the safety, like at the Super Bowl, the all 22. I'll just watch that safety position. Now, where my eye usually goes is where the ball's at after coaching for many years. And that's why I try to identify your coaching staff. Like, when you're at a football game and you got 4 coaches or 5 or 6 or 10 or 20, whatever you have, identify every snap of the ball where every coach should be watching. Either they're watching, if you're a line coach, are you watching play side? Are you watching backside? If you have 2 coaches for the linemen, one needs to watch play side, one needs to watch backside. And so then you don't watch the same thing. Identify with each other, communicate with each other. If you have a receiver coach, if you have multiple receiver coach, you have an inside receiver coach, outside receiver coach. Well, are you watching the right side of receivers or the left side? If you have a running backs, quarterbacks, I've coached a lot of the backfield coach where you have the quarterback coach and the running back coach are the same person, then, each play, if it's a running play, you basically want to watch assignment on, making sure how to hand it off, that type of thing. But then you also want to see the defenders, how that, if we're running a sprint draw action or we're running a delayed handoff action, or if we're doing this, how does that hold people on defense, So you want to see that action. And then when you're breaking down your film, the right after the game or the next day, see what that action does and how it triggered certain people. And then now you're playing chess instead of checkers. You're now figuring, okay, if I move, as you mentioned earlier, where a guard false keys him pulling, that draws the linebackers over. Now there's a window in there to throw the yellow route. So we call it where the left guard, you have a term where he pulls, and basically the center and the play side guard, the right side, they're responsible for the backside A gap and the play side A gap. Or if your back is going to trigger in there, he feels for that spot. So everybody's working just to get that guard pulled, just to get that linebacker moved, so I can get that ball, have an open window to the slant or to the yellow route for that left receiver. So that's the beauty of football, and that's when you really start learning. Now, okay, the next game you play, you figure out that they're just reading the shoulder pad levels of the offensive lineman to read run or pass. That's a big thing now for offense because there's so many RPOs. The defense now is just reading pad level. So if you come out high pad level, everybody on defense, the linebackers who's reading the linemen, they're thinking pass. If it's low pad level, they're thinking run. So you got to really convince your offensive line and your lineman coaches to really, if it is a running play, to be somewhere in the middle to give the illusion that it might be a pass, it might be a run, because we do a lot of RPOs now, or we run pass screen options, or we run pass options, have a pre-snap pass, post-snap pass by reading somebody. So pad level now needs to be taught to a next level, to where the offensive linemen now are deterring or making a detour for the defense on what they're reading, a false key, if you will. My low pad level, they're thinking run, so I got my low pad level, so they're really filling in behind you. Now, quarterbacks, if you're ever throwing over the tackle box area, it doesn't matter. It's from the tackle box to infinity. I need a play action pass. If I'm throwing outside the box, I don't ever want to do any play action pass. So if I'm throwing a green route to the receiver, that's a go route on the right. I don't need to fake inside. That's wasted movement. That's wasted. I'm triggering guys in the middle that has no effect outside, and it's messing up my mechanics. So what I do instead is I just shuffle, okay? And I make the running back, he'll key the linebacker. He'll set in there and find out if they're in man coverage. A lot of times what defenses now, Giannis, are doing, if your guy stays in the block in your holy offense, your H or your Y or your running back, if they stay in the block, you green dogs, means you blitz now, okay? So as you step up and you see he's not blitzed, now he can do 2 things. He's either going to go on and drop in coverage, or he's going to blitz. So you as a running back, let's keep him out of the harm's way for the quarterback. Just go ahead and release and run your swing route, your shuffle route, your decoy route. We're going to run something, end up over the ball somewhere in the middle. So it's a check down. I believe in the check down to the backs. because if I can just get him out of harm's way for the lineman and get the ball to a back, to someone that has a little twitch, to him, make one guy miss or fall forward for 2 more yards. As a play caller, the green is covered. I'm not worried about the faking. I'm looking, what I do, I see who's on the roof. 2 people on the roof, I'm throwing my green, However, I'm thinking 2 people on the roof, it might be a good time to run the football, okay? Because that means there's only 9 other players that I can count for. I've got 5 linemen. I got 6 with an H. I got 7 with a Y, and I got a running back. So if there's 2 on the roof, sometimes that's the best time to run the football. So we have a call where there's 2 on the roof and there's no secondary level right here, meaning when you start throwing the football effectively, Giannis, there's really 2 ways to stop the passing game. That's either get to the quarterback or drop everybody out. There's no in between. They can't, if they just do normal defense, then we're high-lowing off of somebody in the secondary. We're running the ball. Offense has such great advantage, and you can't be touched after 5 yards as a receiver. So it's free release. So once you work on your techniques to get off the line of scrimmage, you can just run to open space and get there and get open. So offense has great advantage, and that's why I think it's like chess. Offense is like they're the white guys. They're the white parts of the chess. They get to move first, where the black in chess, they're the defenders. So they have to move second. So we already know, like when you hear people going, oh, it's really rainy, the offense has the advantage.
You got to run the ball.
Yeah, you got to run the ball, and you know where you're going to run the ball. The defense doesn't know. It's real windy. Oh, it's hard to throw in the wind, or how to catch in the wind. We know where we're going to go. Defense doesn't know what routes we're running. They may think we're running the route, but you can also, you run routes off of the route. So like this is red, my neck gets red. And if I go red with this, that means I'm going to run a stop and go. Okay. Now, I'm not out there on the field, but I'm going to equip my receiver and my offensive back, the quarterback, to read the defensive back. If he's press coverage, then I'm probably going to give him a double move off of the red. Now, there's certain guys I want to have a double move, Giannis, that I know can beat matchups. So I put my better receiver closer inside, because defenses are always built 2 ways. Defenses always put their best run defender to the right side of the offense, their left side. Okay. Speaking interior play, they always feel like they're facing a right-hand quarterback, so they're putting their best rush guy on the right side. Okay. Now,
I agree.
Defenses, the second thing they do, so that's positioning there for the run or the quarterback pressures. Second thing is put the best cover guy. Your best cover guy always goes to the field, or he goes to the right side of the offense or the left side of the defense. Outside, they put him at cornerback. So why would I put my best receiver outside at cornerback? Have my best versus this match. That's a bad matchup for me as offense. So I move my best receiver around to where they line up. And so I want to put my best receiver against their worst cover guy as I can, or the second worst cover guy. Now, what defenses now are doing, they're investing in nickel defense. So now when you say nickel, there's 2 types of nickel. There's a buffalo nickel. That's a big nickel where if I'm throwing the ball a lot to my H and my Y, they're going to put a bigger nickel in there where he can defend against big receivers and the run, or a regular nickel where I've got little receivers at H and Y, little, smaller guys that got a little twitch, a little movement, then that's what you'll face. And then they'll take a lot of their best corners and put them inside of that small nickel. So now it's a chess game. It's cat and mouse. I put my best receiver inside. Now, how do you do that offensively? We have motions. So now I always put the inside receiver always on the ball. If there's only 1 receiver, he's on the ball. If it's 2 receivers, it's the inside receiver. If it's 3 to side, it's the inside receiver. I always like to move pre-snap with an outside receiver, motion him inside. You saw this past Super Bowl, Giannis, and I'll get the cut-ups in the future for us, but where they brought the receiver on the goal line, Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs brought the outside receivers in, and they were already passing it over because they thought it was a full motion, but it was just a stack motion.
Yep.
And so then when the defensive back signaled, you, and not me. In my defensive time, me is all the way to the quarterback, and then it's you. Okay, he's hollering that out. But way the Philadelphia Eagles did it, and it was just twice, and it was both times were touchdowns for Kansas City. They were hollering you. Once he got the stack, so now that receiver knew he was passing it off to the other defender back. He's on the other side of the field, so he just ran a little quick out, just run the open space. And they even called it wrong. I don't know if you know this. Patrick Mahomes said we called it to the wrong guy. But to your point of learning concepts and how it should look, they had a third or fourth receiver that ran the little short motion and was supposed to have been called for the other side. But the quarterback, sent him in motion, and he went, oh my gosh, I sent the wrong guy in motion. But he knows the concept. And so he came, and they're hollering, you. And you can hear it as a player. You know that, Giannis.
Yep.
In the middle, you can hear all that. And now it's a walk-in touchdown. So strategically, they had conquered what they're doing. Now, I'm sure they made adjustments after those two times that we're not passing that motion off. Now, what you do as a play caller, you find out where, so they knew exactly where they were passing that off to create space for their receivers. So that's a very long, in-depth thing, but where you learn where they pass off the receiver, it helps you in a speed sweep where you bring a guy in motion, run a jet sweep, where you come in and you go across, then you motion back out. I want to teach and share all those plays and call concepts. And you want to know when you want to call those plays. And then once you've dialed into when you want to call them against what defense, you have ultra success. So hopefully that is a lot of information. And I want to go more into really developing styles of play. But if you have a simple formation, and it's not X, Y, and Z, you got a left receiver, a right receiver, and a holy offense. You got your H, O, L, and Y, and you got your back. I just call him B for back and the Q for quarterback. Okay. So that's your team. If you do one with your left, that means you got left receiver. Okay. That means there's three on the right. So early on in the preseason camp or the summer camp for the Israel quarterbacks, I'll just do this in receivers. Whatever's on my left side is what I need on the left side of the ball. Now you're going, okay, what if we want a tight end or attach? Then you just do that, and you just run, you just do a little signal like attach. So one will be attached. So now, okay, big guy comes in the game. He's my third offensive tackle, and I'm doing this attached. He's probably going to go in and let the referee know he's got an eligible number, or maybe we put him in an eligible number. Maybe we put him in number 80. He's attached. Now, so I go one, attach, three. So I need the three on that side. Oh, Giannis saying, I like to have two tight ends. I do too versus certain defenses. So we would go one, attached, three, attached. So now I got the next offensive tackle or the third tight end. And so now we got two tight ends, right? And if I haven't said anything, the other two guys, they're now splitting the difference. Bottom of the numbers to where the Y is, split the difference. So if it's about 17 yards, then he's going to be about 8 yards, split the difference. Okay, say if we want to go one, attach, three, attach, and then I say stack, close. So now they're going to stack in, have a tight end. We're going to be stacked right there like a little, right on, we're really a tight formation. And they're stacked, okay? And then whoever wants to go in motion. So I've given you all the formations right there. And now it's just repetition. Yep. Now it's just getting kids out playing in the backyard, in the side yard, in the community park, and just lining up, Now,
and obviously, like you said, you make the game simpler for the players, but it's the being proactive of the player side that will get you on the bus, will get you on the field, because I've seen many times that, the difference between one player who's better not playing versus a player who's not as good, but he knows to play well, or he just goes 100% all the time. So at least you know it's not an effort problem. It's just a playbook problem. You know, you basically are able to get more and do more as a team. So I
Right.
think that you've touched so many different points that I think, and I would really hope that those who listen or will see this and the people you would meet appreciate the fact that it doesn't stop from what the coach teaches you. It's what you're going to put into it. Like you said, watch the film, see how you can do better, how the other team does things, because at the end of the day, you know, yes, you can only prepare just as much, but it's a lot better if you prepare a lot more than not. And
That's
you know, so I will say this though, because I do appreciate your time and I'm loving this. I'm having a great time. I will, I was requested with a question.
sure.
It
Shoot.
might give you a giggle. So it would be our last question. So obviously, you know, you have spoken about. I thought your best accolade, most famous accolade, would be the 3,000-yard in the season throwing as the first quarterback in the SEC.
Right.
Now that I know that it almost on par with you said the 29 interception. So only to show you that you can be the best of one and you still have to work on the other, but it's still being the first.
Right.
But
That's right.
I was asked the question by Haas. How hard did you have to prepare for Alabama when you beat them?
Alabama. Oh, it was. They have such great tradition. They had such a great defense that every time I got to play against them, in all 4 years I got to play when I was quarterbacking at Vanderbilt, 2 years, I was the backup, and of course they knocked out the quarterback, the starter. So I was the second and third my freshman year. So we alternated, me and Ardell Fuller. Same thing happened my sophomore season. He got hurt. I had to go in and play. So I got meaningful moments those 2 years. In my last 2 seasons at quarterback, I started for Vanderbilt and started against Alabama. And both games were just, for me, knowing they were the best of the best. And I had grown up seeing them win multiple national championships. And there's been a lull since then, but now they built back up with Coach Nick Saban, probably the greatest of our time college football coach, no doubt. But Alabama and Haas Johnson will tell you, they had some of the best players at every position, and they were the most coached fundamentally. They were the most coached athletically, and they knew what you were thinking. They knew what you wanted to do with the football. So now it became a huge chess match of personnel matchups. And one of the things I knew very well, and our coaches they were not as strong versus the sprint out. So that game, we put in a lot of bootlegs, a lot of sprint outs, and we scored multiple times just on coverages because they like to cover their safeties. Would cover the inside slots and they wouldn't put in nickel. So I would sprint a lot. I threw a couple touchdowns just sprinting to that side, matching up whichever side. If they put in a nickel, and what dime is, guys, Giannis and my coaches, dime is 2 safeties out of the game, putting in 2 cornerbacks. So now you got 6. Nickel is 5 defensive backs, and nickel is 5, and dime is 6. Alabama was reluctant to put in the dime package. They had safeties that they felt could really cover. So our job offensively was pre-snap to find out. We were in a 2-by-2, so 2 receivers on the left, 2 on the right, and we would find out where that safety, if he landed up on the right side, we were sprinting to the right. We found up on the left, we were sprinting to the left, and we were identifying that. That was the key to our game. That's where we had our biggest plays. We always kind of had that in our back pockets. We knew going into the game. And now if they'd have went to the dime package and got him out, that would have been like, okay, now we had to define which corner is less in coverage, And so I'm sure I never had to ask that question, right? I'm sure my coaches I played for had those answers. I was kind of worried that they would do that, and they never did that. So, not just something that's a statement, but Haas was right. They were the best defense. If you lined up and you were not able to move the football on the ground, then now they teed off of you as a quarterback. So our game plan going in was twofold. One, we got to run the ball between the tackles, okay? And that lightens the time that our defense is on the field. Second thing is we had to find where they push the nickel. So the nickel would come in, he would guard, and a lot of times he would guard our best receiver was Chuck Scott, number 46. So a lot of times when he did guard him, we would send him in motion. This is motion. So we would just go right. My hand would be right, and then we'd either give a signal for each receiver to come across, or we would give ever how you want to set up in your game planning. But we always motioned our H or our Y. And so if I was motioning from the left, I mean, the H is always going across. So we're in a 2x2 yardage. He'd motion across, and motions are set up twofold. One, to identify what the defense is going to do, and then two, to have movement to where you're having them moving, you're moving in space. What defenses want to be able to do is put their feet in the ground, line up, and then hit you in the mouth. But if you get somebody moving, that one guy's moving, well, now he's moving in somebody else's backyard. So now that guy's got to either move up or move back. And now you study how they move across the field. If he's having trouble and the linebackers aren't clearing a lane for him, then you want to sprint out and throw hot to that receiver in the flat. And that's exactly what we did. They had their best cornerback on our guy, and we motioned him across, and the linebacker stayed at second level, Giannis. So he was kind of working his way through the motions, through the second level. So we threw hot, where we called it double pick. So basically both receivers come in, they would double pick, and he'd run in the flat. And I threw him touchdown. He ran, scored touchdown. So just seeing how they're going to break it down and knowing, but Alabama was the best defense I ever faced growing up in the SEC. And however, they didn't have the best player. Were two guys. Reggie White played against him at Tennessee, and Virginia Tech's Bruce Smith. Those are the best two defensive players I've ever played against in a game. And I know offensive linemen I played with Vanderbilt can attest that Reggie White was an unbelievable player, longtime player with the Green Bay Packers, professional football Hall of Fame. And Bruce Smith, same thing, Virginia Tech, professional football player Hall of Fame, first-time ballot. So I got to see the best, and now you had to have offensive plays where you were accountable to those people every single snap. The one time you man up or single up, he's going to beat that person and make a sack and impact the game. So you had to always know where he was lined up, and you had a great center like Giannis that could identify where Bruce Smith was. It's number 78. You can identify number 92 where Tennessee Vol, Reggie White. And so there were a lot of other players too, like Cornelius Bennett, who played for Alabama. We had to identify where he lined up. Wilbur Marshall played for the Chicago Bears, Hall of Fame. He played at Florida. We had to figure out where he was lined up. So I've been part of a lot of things as a player, and then developing the last 25, 30 years in coaching. And so really want to give insight to where you are for your best matchups. And instill, though, in practice, Giannis, is do the things that you do really well, and don't ask your players to do things they don't do very well. Find out what they do very well, and that's called trust. So once they trust you that you're going to put them in position for success, they'll go 100 miles an hour. But if they don't really know, I don't think I can do that, then you're not on the same page with that player. So as a coach, you got to get in there with the players and know kind of what they like and how they're able to make plays and able to do great things for your team and for them. Ultimately, you want to bring value to them as an individual. He's not very tall, but he can catch anything thrown in his area code. So now that needs to be his persona. Look, man, you're not very tall. You're not very fast. I need you to work really hard on just winning this little space and being open, because if I can get you open in any little space, you'll catch the ball for 6, 7 yards. That's the best thing for a quarterback, to have that security blanket. That's why Patrick Mahomes knows his tight end, Travis Kelce, can catch anything, anywhere. If he's off the mark just a little bit, he'll catch it. That's a security blanket. That's why they're so successful, because they have that relationship. They have that trust. And then Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, the play callers, they know now to build it around early in the game to where Patrick and Kelce make connection, and that makes everybody else feed off their connection. And that's what I really want to pass on to all our coaches in Israel and all over the world, is find out who you can connect with, and then have them make connections on the game and in life. I can trust Giannis. I can trust you to develop great logos, to you go down in your lane and your strengths. That's not my lane. That's not my strengths. But you see how valuable that is for me with my message, and I appreciate that wholeheartedly. So therefore, I want to have a chance for you to be successful. And if you're successful, then guess what? I'll be successful. So it's a win-win. And that's where life and football, it really kind of gets in that. When you get to that point, then you really feel like you're doing God's work, and you're just enjoying your time on this land and in this area, and teaching the game of football will help people develop themselves in game of life.
Amen to that. I always said that, I always told my coaches and teammates, I want to become the best that I can so I can be the best for my team. That's how, I know I'm the best for the team when I do the best for us, so
Right.
That's amazing. So I guess, we're probably going to conclude this very soon, but I have two last points to make.
Absolutely.
One of them is conclusion. One, flag football is a big deal in Israel. We've hosted the international flag tournament. We have, the championship in the world. We have great athletes that are, I guess, ranked. I know less about flag than the actual tackle football, but
Right.
there's a big movement of female in the female leagues, and the women leagues. I mean, and they're, both men and the women, they've always been a force internationally. So.
Yeah.
I was curious if your platform also addresses the flag industry, if it's something you would ever go into. And after that, I would, I guess, finish it off with, what would you like, I guess, the Israelis, athletes to, I guess, take from what you're trying to preach? And then what would you, and maybe give us, even though you've been giving us taste and flavor throughout the entire interview here, our conversation, what is it that you are looking for them to gain from what you're going to be what you have shared from in this past 2.5 hours, and what you will during the clinic that will happen not possibly in a week or two?
Absolutely. Great questions, Giannis. The first thing with flag football, years ago in Tennessee, I started 7-on-7, and I'll send you that article. 7-on-7, I was my first year coaching as a head coach at high school. And we really didn't have a chance. Receivers would get together and a quarterback, and it was like pulling teeth getting guys to go out. And it's very hot in the South, the SEC footprint. So I was like, man, I need to come up with something that kind of like summer league baseball and summer league basketball, where they meet and it's informally and they play. And so I said, well, let's just start a 7-on-7 league. So I started 7-on-7 years ago. I'll send you that article so you'll have it for documentation. And so basically I had 10 teams that showed up, and we would play for 1 hour, and we would throw the football, and we played it like flag, basically just one touch. Just touch somebody one time and they were down. Because the thing that happened a lot with flag when I first started coaching flag football, is they would take flag and rip it off, and then the whole belt would fall off. And I know it's gotten better because I'm still coaching some flag teams too, but I just do one touch. And basically it's like the baseball major league touch. If you swipe and you barely and you might have missed them. We're blowing the whistle. They're down right there. Just like in Major League Baseball, Giannis, when that shortstop comes across that bag and they barely, it's for safety. They don't touch right in the middle of the bag and then get clipped by the guy sliding, right? They barely touch the bag on the outside and they stay out of harm's way and they throw the ball. So I do the same thing with our tag when I started 7-on-7. If you're anywhere in the vicinity of their body, okay, they're down. So to your point of flag football, I think that is probably for passing and catching and running and doing all the skill sets that a receiver, quarterback need. And the best people that get the most work on flag or 7-on-7 are the defenders, because now the game is about running. You have to run to the ball. And a lot of times when I grew up as a young man, there was no flag. It was just 3 yards in a cloud of dust, And so for us now, coaching and playing football, the field is 53 1/3. So you got to defend all of that horizontally. And then vertically, it's now all the way down the field, The ball can throw deep, it can throw medium to middle, and it can be short. So defenses have that to defend and that to defend. Where in flag, wow, you start playing flag, you can run sweeps, you can run toss passes, and it makes the interior people run. Now, in flag, you may have some linemen, you may not have linemen, but really what I do with flag nowadays is all my defensive linemen, I move them back and they play linebackers. I get linebackers and they start playing safeties, okay? And my corners, they're out there playing cornerback, and safeties. I move guys back at least one level so they learn how to run to the ball, because ultimately defenders have to learn to run and cover space. On the flip side, if I had Giannis, if I was coaching you on our team, we were doing flag football, I'd have you at H or Y position. Not the whole night, but I want you to understand perception of how long does it take to run a red or yellow play. Wow, it's pretty quick. It's 1, 2, 3, turn around, 1, 2, 3, slant. So now as Giannis, as you're the center, after that experience, now red or yellow is called. I need to be aggressive in my pass set. I don't need to step back because my quarterback's getting rid of the ball right now, okay? And if he doesn't, then it's on him. Basically, he needs to get rid of it, or 1, 2 run, or 1, 2 throw away, whatever. So you're all on the same page by your experience of playing flag football as an H or Y. Now, other H and Ys, what do I do to them? I move them out to L and R as the season progresses. So they get a feel of they're out of their comfort zone. Some people like it when it's in tight and they're around other people. Some people out there on the side of the corner street out there at L receiver, they get nervous. They're by themselves. So he has to learn like that position. So what I try to do in flag is play multiple positions, have appreciation for all the positions. And guess what? Travis Kelce in high school was a quarterback. His second year of college, university football, University of Cincinnati, a coach saw he had great gift. They ran a lot of quarterback runs, so they moved him to tight end. And he wanted to play like all of us and help the team, so he moved to tight end, and now he's one of the better tight ends of all time and was at another position. So don't ever have closed mindset, have open mindset that my coach has moved me around for me to have a better feel of the game. And then also maybe a position change, or maybe that one play. If I had, say Giannis, if I had you, with your height, and I didn't have anybody 6'3", but in flag football, I'd thrown the ball up and you catch it highest point versus a defensive back that's 5'8", 5'9". I would have plays designed to where Giannis, has a good, we can put on a good number, identify to the referee eligible number, put him at, tight end position and run to the back of the pylon and throw an alley-oop so we can catch the ball, So
Yes.
you learn that flag football. So
I'm actually a 2-time championship in flag, coach.
Okay, there you go. So I'm speaking to the choir. So basically, that's a great thing. And then to your other question about just developing players and the coaches. And like I said, I want to meet the players and coaches of Israel and Jerusalem and the area where they're at. And then I want to take them from where they're at, wherever that is, first time ever to play this game, or first time to be at the camp, or third time to play, wherever you're at. Need you to take the inventory, share the information with me, Coach Page, and then let's get you to the next step, whatever the next step, the next level is. If it's to become, I always tell the quarterbacks I train, your job is to be ready for the next step. If you're the backup quarterback from a high school team, your job is to be the starter. You're pushing every day at practice. So if something happens to the first string guy, I'm ready to play and play even better so they won't go back into him. I'll make my game raises the standard. I've got to raise the standard. Same thing with all the players of Israel. Basically, I want you to take from whatever you gained that day, put it in your toolkit, and get yourself a little bit, 1% or 2% better. The very next day, the same thing at camp. The very next day, same thing at camp. And then when you're practicing is to be hardest, the best people to coach, Giannis, and you know this, are the people that are hardest on themselves, because they're really like, man, they're nothing was perfect. And there's only one perfect human being on our earth, and that was Jesus. So basically, you want to have that Jesus mentality to where he was perfect. I'm not perfect. So I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. I always tell my coaches that when I've been the head coach, guess who gets to make the most decisions every single game, every single practice, every single day? The head coach. On the flip side of that, Giannis, guess who gets to make the most mistakes every single game, every single day, every single practice? The head coach. But I can't make too many mistakes. It'd be detrimental to the organization. But have that responsibility and understanding that have to make 150 decisions, in the course of a day as a head coach or as a position coach or offensive defensive coordinator. So you have to understand what are some things I can do that I can take care of the night before, the week before, the month before, the season before. So that's where I want to come in as quarterback coaching worldwide and really help play callers, help position group leaders, coordinators, coaches, head coaches, families to understand, hey, my young man probably needs to maybe explore going to this camp, the camp that we're having. And then how can I help my young man, my young person from this camp? What's the next step? And that's where we all need guidance to what's the next step. The next step is getting on a team. And then sometimes, if you can, choosing the right team to the right skill sets that as you made a determination, your college choice, you had this school that didn't feel exactly right, but this school felt exactly right. So you went with not only your gut, but what mentally you felt, who cared the most about me as a new player, as a new resident in that city, as leaving the countryside I was familiar with. You felt the best. Players know that. Players will know that even with the team they made a choice. Now, say you're in a position and they have a new coach coming in, and your job is to now create your focus to where you've got a new message, a new opportunity to learn some new things from a new coach, and you've got to have that open-mindedness each and every day at practice to learn what they're wanting to get the best out of you. And you got to have trust. You have to trust that person cares about you, and you want to learn from them how to do things better. And so hopefully that's what I get from my visit to Israel and my coaching with the Israel kids and the coaches and the families, that I can help them move from this step to that step, whatever that step is.
So I guess the best thing to finish, and it's just amazing. Like I said, it's inspiring. It's amazing. I'm even more excited after talking to you, and I really, really hope that people are gonna enjoy this interview and are gonna look forward to meet you in the clinic and meet you in person in the summer. And
Yes.
I guess we can, yes. And I guess it would be, I guess, pretty cool if we can have maybe a sense, like obviously not to go into depth. That's why we'll have the next time. And we are towards our time, end of our time, is maybe what you plan on having on your agenda in the clinic that we'll do on Zoom in a week or two. And
Mhm.
then I will say that I will once again say thank you for your time and for your
Thanks.
story and for your journey. And I know that if I was before college, I would be even as an Israeli, I would be even more inspired to try to pursue my dreams and pursue the sport that I love. Because at the end of the day, we all know that football does teach you about life, and life teaches about football.
Right.
And sometimes we do forget it because when you make something professional, sometimes you lose some of the sense of what the why or what made it special. And that's
Right.
why I think that having more exposure to people that have gone through that is key for personal growth and personal experiencing the sport that we all love. I know I've
Right.
done it with myself firsthand, and I know some people might have the opportunity in the near future. Maybe some people won't have any opportunity, but at least to acknowledge and know is half the battle. So we'll probably finish this off as to what do you think are you going, or I know you do have your agenda kind of put together, that those athletes that would show up and learn, the quarterbacks, other positions too, because it's always valuable to know other positions, especially into the detail that you present. Because when you talk about quarterback, you have to talk about receivers. You have to talk about offensive line. It's the same
Right.
reason when you speak about receivers, you have to speak about secondary as well as the
Right.
quarterback.
Right.
There's always those relationships. So if you have just a quick preview to the
Yeah.
clinic that you'll have, the stuff you'll touch, and I guess then basically declare an invitation to both the tackle league, the flag league, and anyone else who would like to get to know you more and get to know your cause and basically learn more football and be part of this journey of you and I
Absolutely.
throughout the multiple clinics we'll provide together. And
Right.
God willing, they'll keep following you when you have your website done and you have other, any information that people would like to reach to you. I'm sure you'll provide and to follow your journey too in scaling your reach because you have a great story. You have a great attitude. Obviously, I don't have to tell you, I'm the youngin. So just the your love to the game will inspire others people to love to the game. No matter if you were the first to do something special and the first to screw up in a special way, it's still the same way.
Exactly. Yes. Great points. Basically, just this opportunity for growth for the coaches and the players is just a great opportunity for all of us to grow together and for us to understand the inner workings of how to develop a sound quarterback play, a winning quarterback play, and also how to coach in that same quarterback way of coaching and understanding like they are in one of the more important parts of that, but also they're important parts because of the development that can happen if the right coaching and the right teaching and the right playing comes together. It makes the whole offense kind of tick together. So my job as a quarterback coach is to be like a quarterback caddy, to make sure the quarterback understands the wind, understands how the distance is, just like in golf. They give all the parameters of what's going on. We're inside the red zone, high likelihood of blitzing. So now the quarterback caddy, same as a golfing caddy, if you're inside around, this is when we need to get up and down. I talk to my quarterbacks all the time about golf analogies, getting up and down, meaning if it's third down, I got to get the first down. I got to get up and down. I got to get the first down. If it's fourth down, I got to get the first down. If it's fourth and goal, I got to get up and down, meaning I got to get the play and score. So we talked to him a lot about that. So I see myself like a quarterback caddy for that position and for that coaching fraternity. that camaraderie, that they have a special. You don't have to have played the quarterback position to be a great quarterback coach. You have to have understanding of what all that's going through their head, and then try to help themselves be the best player they can be. And that's what I'm going to teach through all my time in the quarterback coaching worldwide, and also how that relates to all positions on the football field, how that relates to everybody in the organization, how if you have you see it in professional football, and now you see it in college football, and now you even see it in high school football in the United States. The person that is the organization, the face of the organization is who? Who is it, Giannis?
Well, it's the people, it's the players.
The players. And in a lot of places, it's the quarterback. That's the face of the universe, the face of that university, or that face of like right now, if you think of Alabama football, you think of Bryce Young. He's a former Heisman Trophy winner, going to be the first, second, third pick in the NFL draft. That's who you're thinking of. And then what are all the components around Bryce Young for him to be successful? Great offensive line play, great offensive line coaching, great wide receiver play, great wide receiver coaching, running back, strong play, strong coaching, defense, getting him short fields, turning the ball over with Will, number 41, a great 31, a great defensive end, getting the short fields for Bryce Young. But it all kind of circles around him. And once the team understands, if he gets some accolades as a quarterback, that's what we had to do this past season at our program. They were 0-10 taking over. We had to convince everybody that our quarterback was really, really good in the room. Our quarterbacks were really good in the room. And then once they developed that confidence in themselves and in the process, then the other positions believed in them. Then the other positions blocked a little bit harder. The other positions studied a little bit harder. So it all worked in. Now the defense knew if I could just make one or two stops, I could get the ball back to our quarterback that's a really good player. And then, highlight the people that you have around you. Everybody is blessed with some unique attributes. You as a coach is to find those unique attributes of every player and meet them where they're at and help them be successful. That's how I define coaching. Every player. You're the weakest link right now in our conditioning in the off season right now for high school football in the state of Alabama is the off season conditioning. February and March is we are really focusing on the whole team making improvements in our weakest link. What does that mean? If I'm a little bit slower than the position group, I've got to work on my speed. If I'm not as strong, I got to work on my strength. If I'm not where I need to be weight-wise, I need to eat more. I've got to increase my calorie intake. For the betterment of our team, I've got to increase the weak link that I presented in whatever I'm at right now. And then as the season comes up, we're going to work just on our strengths, what things we do really well, because we want you to be successful on the field and off the field. And so you've got to really connect with your players and know their strengths and their weaknesses and have a window where you really are working on their weakest links, whatever that is. Could be progression reads by the quarterback. Giannis, I'm going to teach the coaches and the players the difference between a progression read and a high-low read, and then the clinics. But the clinics will be detailed to where it's quarterback friendly and position friendly for all the other positions, how it all works together and how they're all, Yannick, and I hate saying this, but I hear it 100,000 times a day, on the same page.
On the same page.
Yeah. And so basically I'm Kurt Page, Dr. Kurt Page, and I want to get everybody on the same page to where now.
I get that now.
Yeah, they're really able to pull as one, the same rope. And you mentioned it earlier, like if whole offensive line, they're blocking the scheme this way, the running backs are going to make y'all right. If he believes in you guys, and obviously he does because he's on the team, he's wearing the uniform, he's there. His mindset needs to be, I believe my offensive linemen, so they blocked it this way. So now they teach me to run, to puncture the defense here. So everybody's on the same page and you're working together. And And sometimes when it's not going as good, as I mentioned, 29 interceptions that season in 1983, we as a whole team decided we were going to cut that in half. That would be winning football, and it was winning football. So we won 2 games my junior year, and we won 5 games my senior year in the SEC. So that was a strong season for Vanderbilt. So we cut down to 14 interceptions. So it's about always continuously having improvement, same as continuously have improvement in your life. How you're treating your family, what you're doing, modifications to your house or to your apartment or to your camper, wherever you live, always trying to improve and make it better,
Yep.
And that's what you want to learn from football. So that's what I plan on teaching. But it's going to start from the quarterback position, Yannick, and then show all the places that he touches and the places that touch him and where he needs to place value as a quarterback, where a quarterback coach needs to place value. If you have a big offensive line and a big running back, you need to build your offense around those things and, take care of the quarterback, and I'm really going to teach. And if you feel like I don't have any resources, let's find out what they can do. Maybe you have to maybe you got 2 offensive linemen. So you have a strong side and a weak side. And strong side meaning we're probably going to run to that side more often than not. Is that indicators for defense? Yeah, but they got to do the homework. They got to figure out 77 and 78 always line up together. And they're my best duo blockers. They're my only 2 linemen. I've had to move receivers and defensive linebackers to offensive line. So they're my weak side or my off side. A lot of linemen, once they start playing, they don't want to be called weak side. So I call a strong and a quick side. So basically that quick side would be a backup linebacker, safety, and maybe the center was a old linebacker, that type of thing. So I'm going to help coaches build what they have to build on, and just look forward to it greatly. No doubt about it.
So I can rest assure you that they're going to be very happy, and we're going to have also specific clinics probably with some of the coaches to,
Absolutely.
like you said, really drive this and drive the level up. I know that the level goes up and up the more exposure there is to people and coaches and doctors such as yourself. So I want to say thank you one more time for your time. It was for those who don't know, this was supposed to be 1 hour, but I couldn't appreciate more the 3 hours. That's how much he cares, Dr. Kurt Page, about you. And I guess if there's during the clinic, we'll work out a way for them to reach out to you, and I will give the option. I will reach out to teams and give the option to collect some questions, possibly to present in maybe in a fashion that would be a little bit more condensed, including more and more topics. But I have no doubt in my mind we'll all leave the clinic with a lot more knowledge, a lot more appreciation to the sport and to the people involved. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.